Blank check with Griffin and David. Blank check with Griffin and David. Don't know what to say or to expect. All you need to know is that the name of the show is Blank Check.
You know what, Matt? It's amazing what you can do when you don't have to look at yourself in the podcast anymore.
Right. Yeah. I wondered what line you'd pick. I had no idea.
Hi, everybody. I'm Griffin Newman. I was 2 hours late to recording today.
Oh, God. It was insane. David Sims. Hi.
This is a Blank Check with Griffin and David.
You guys are just listening to an episode of a podcast. You're just like, oh, it's Sunday night. Blank Check's in my feed.
Yeah, I fucked up badly. I've been losing my mind, and I've been staying up till 6 a.m.,
Yeah.
and then I
Don't do that.
slept through.
Ben and I
Yeah.
were talking about how you sent us a text, like one of your late texts, where we get a text from you at like 3 a.m, and we're like, who's this for? Like, what is he, who does he think he's texting right now?
Well, that's also me
to asleep people. Is who
not
he's
realizing
texting.
it's that time.
Right.
And also 3 o'clock is when I'm just getting started.
Oh, God. You mean...
In the words of Ron Shelton.
Yeah. Oh, God. I read this interview.
Very topical joke by the time
The
this episode
NYC
comes
movie
out.
guru interviewed Ron Shelton, and I read the interview, my friend, and it is worth reading.
That
Ron
guy,
Shelton doesn't like dirty jokes or fart humor. FYI.
That's a guy... That's weird.
I know.
Because there are definitely fart jokes in Just Getting Started, right?
I have no idea.
We haven't seen it, but
I
there
haven't
has
seen
to
it.
be at least one.
All right, let's not get too sidetracked. Sorry.
Let's get sidetracked. I'm losing my mind. But
Just stop losing your mind, okay?
I gotta stop it.
Make a promise.
Look, here's and on the record.
Uh-huh.
I've been going crazy, staying up late, working on this part that I really want to get.
Uh-huh.
And by the time this episode comes out, I probably will have not gotten the part.
On the record, baby.
On the record. Someone else will be doing the job by
but
the
at
time.
least you went crazy.
Yeah. But here's the other thing. If I do somehow get the part, then this will seem awesome.
Yeah, fair enough.
But that's not going to happen. I'm not going to get it.
Can I interject with a funny thing here?
Please.
Yes, please.
Great guest.
The level of casualness with which you're projecting with your legs crossed and that cup of coffee is so at odds with how late you are.
You should be like
Pow.
Yeah, you should be like super professional right now. Like
Which he looks. He looks deeply like
Sure.
an absolute ready to go.
Right.
guy.
He looks Marin-esque.
I think your point is that it's not an arrogant casualness. It's a professional. What you're saying is I'm the most professional person alive.
I mean, the way you hold that mug is very professional.
Sure.
It's very Andy Richter, like just leaning right in.
I'm trying to, I feel like I almost sunk the ship. I'm trying to pull the Titanic out of the ocean.
We're recording this episode because Alex asked me, is this the latest Griffin has ever been?
Correct.
And I was like, I think so for an episode we then record.
Yes.
But you have just not shown a couple times. But I don't think you've ever been like
There's
this
one time I
materially
remember
late.
distinctly when my bathroom collapsed.
There was the bathroom time, and then there was the time when you like left your wallet at home, or you like
that's
lost
true.
your wallet
That's
or
true.
something.
I lost my wallet.
Yeah, those were both in the old days.
Those were in the old
UCB
days. And then the Lang, the
Oh yeah, no,
Taruk
that's right.
episode.
I see. I'm good. I took the mic away.
Thank you.
Yes, me and Rachel Lang hung out for quite a while.
But I
waiting
think this
for
was
you.
the longest. This is the worst I've been. I'm a
Anyway,
fucking shit.
doesn't
boy.
matter. Me and Alex have all this
Well, don't
gossip. and
spoiler
we
who the
did.
guest was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, could be anyone. Alex.
Jones.
Yes. Today we have Alex Jones on the podcast.
I was going to throw something else in there, but even off the top of my head, I couldn't think of many other Alex something.
I know. I was like, how do I not know?
Trebek.
Trebek. I immediately thought of Alex Tromboli, from American Vandal.
Yeah.
Who's not even a real person.
It makes you realize, though, there isn't really an iconic Alex of the generation. You have the ability to become the first name Alex, maybe.
Alex D. Linz.
Hey.
Well, yeah. I mean, but he's
He had
faded.
his shot.
Yeah.
He had his shot.
I'd say you and him were neck and neck, but you've maybe started pulling ahead.
What's in a name?
I feel like you should put Alex D. Linz in one of your movies. He hasn't made a movie since 2007. All right,
Perfect.
forget it.
Ready for comeback.
This is your Tarantino
Like, 'cause
reclamation
I
project.
just saw a picture of him, and he kind of looks like a guy who could be in sort of like a, like a domestic drama or like an indie movie or something. Right? He looks like a guy.
That's
He's got
him now?
glasses.
Normal guy. Normal guy.
He actually does. He looks
He
like
could
someone.
be like a barista in a
he
movie.
would
or-
fit perfect in a Listen Up, Philip.
We could get him in there, but I'll think of another Alex by the end of the episode.
Okay.
Cool. You were sort of trying to surreptitiously introduce our guest through
our
his
guest
credit.
today, a returning guest, a favorite, a friend.
Huge fave.
He is the director of films such as Listen Up, Philip.
Yeah.
And Queen of Earth and Golden Exits, which will it have come out
Yeah,
by this?
when does this come out?
This is posting February 26th.
Oh, great! So it'll still be at Metrograph,
There you
where it
go.
opens. Where it opened 2 weeks ago,
Go see it at Metrograph.
and other places in the internet and country and city.
Yes.
Are your movies going to still be on Filmstruck? How long does that last for?
At least a year.
Okay,
Oh,
so
awesome.
yeah.
So go to Filmstruck.
Go watch like Impolex or
Yes.
whatever.
All
yeah?
my movies are on Filmstruck.
Yeah.
And you have a lot of great bonus material, a lot of interviews that you're
All sorts of
conducting.
stuff.
People are conducting with you.
Mhm.
It's a treasure trove.
A lot of stuff, and the new movie's out. So yeah, this is really time to.
And it's a good movie. And I tried to send Alex after I saw it this metaphor that I had described to my girlfriend about
Humble brag.
I get to describe metaphors to her about a magnet sweeping through iron filings and moving them around without picking them up. And I think Alex was just completely baffled
I got
by
it.
that email.
I got it.
Yeah.
But thank you guys. Great to be back.
Most famously
Alex Ross Perry
known
is
for,
here.
of course, the Insomnia episode. That's his biggest credit.
Right.
Yeah.
We didn't say his name, Alex
Yeah.
Ross Perry.
Thanks for being here. This is, of course, a podcast about filmographies.
God, what a disaster this episode is.
Directors who have massive success earlier on in their
Yep.
careers and are given a series of blank checks to make whatever crazy passion projects they want. Sometimes those checks clear and sometimes they bounce, baby. And this is...
This is it for Hollywood
Yeah,
Paul.
yes. We have put ellipses around this miniseries.
I'm going to try and talk you into an L bonus.
Okay.
I think we could do an L bonus.
And skip Black Book.
Yeah. I don't know.
And skip Tricked, which is not
It's
really a
skip
movie.
Tricked, yes. But
Yeah.
I think there might be some value. And Emily Yoshida was pitching me on an L bonus. And I was kind of like, but she was not the first too. Like a lot of people have been like, you guys got to do L.
Yeah.
But anyway, but this is the end of Hollywood Paul.
I'm not against it. This is the end of Hollywood Paul.
Yeah.
And it's weird because it's kind of viewed as a check bounce, but
Yeah.
Is Hollywood Paul? Is that what he was called
No,
at the time?
Yes.
well, we call him that. No, but this miniseries is called
Paul Verhoeven in Hollywood. It's called Podship Casters.
Podship
In the
Casters.
2 hours we had hanging out here, I didn't ask what
The
this
name
was
of the
called
miniseries,
or where you're at with Verhoeven now that this is the end.
Well, you
Like,
hate spoilers.
yeah,
Yeah.
but I just so I was caught up to speed because by the
Sure.
time people hear this, they will have heard all the others.
Correct.
Whereas
At this point, we have recorded every Verhoeven episode but one.
Mhm.
I won't reveal which one.
But none of them have come out yet.
No, of course not.
To give you a time and a place, we're recording this before The Last Jedi has been released.
Yes, that's right. Before Griffin's even seen it.
Before
But
The Greatest
after I've
Showman's been
seen it.
released. as
Before The
well.
Greatest Showman, we're in a pre-GS.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I missed that screening because it was on a Sunday afternoon, and I have like people in my life who I want to spend my time with.
Humble brag.
It is post.
It is post.
Post us seeing post.
Yeah. Oh, but
But pre
pre-post.
us releasing
Yeah.
post.
That's true.
Right.
We recorded our post episode. Have you seen post yet?
No, can't wait.
It's great.
But by the time this comes out, I will. So I should have just
Yeah.
said, yeah, I've seen it. I
Yeah,
saw it
you've
2
seen
months
it.
ago.
Right. And you can
And
go
on the record, what's your review?
It's amazing.
I think you'll love it.
I think you'll dig it.
Yeah.
There's a almost 0% chance of me not liking it.
Yeah.
Much like there was almost a 0% chance of me not liking Hollow Man when I saw it twice opening weekend.
Twice opening
Yeah.
weekend? Oh my, I'm so glad you're the guest on this.
So this is the movie where we were kind of like, who's going to want this one? You know,
Right.
like, and I did float to you a long while ago
Yeah.
in like an email thread. I was like, do you think Alex would want to do
Yeah.
Hollow Man? It was like a sort of a random
Guess
guess.
who
Yeah,
has
Jones
two
and I
thumbs
have
and one
you on
Hollow Man?
again. Yeah, right.
And then you like emailed the second I think the Justice League episode dropped, so that the Paul news went live, and you were like, "Can I do Hollow
I will
Man?"
reveal when it comes up the very ulterior motive for why I wanted this.
Oh, amazing.
There's a
boy.
specific
Oh.
Hollow Man related reason that I desperately wanted to somehow become part of the public
Please
record.
tell me you're remaking Hollow Man.
Well,
Please tell me this is your platform to announce that you're
I'm
rebooting
taking over
the
Dark
Hollow Man.
Universe. I'm directing the Johnny Depp Hollow Man movie. There's a specific reason that this movie loomed large for me that it'll come up
Okay.
organically.
But yeah, because the crazy thing is we threw a flyer to Yoshida, our dear friend, Mother of Blankies.
Flyer is even too strong. I essentially shanghaied her where I was like, maybe you could do Hollow Man, like where I was just like
We
trying to think
love
of
her.
a guest.
She's a beloved guest. We were like, why not have you on? It looked like
And
she probably
she-
wasn't going to do our
she-
following miniseries after
Exactly.
this.
She loves Verhoeven, but she was like,
I'm
I never
right.
even saw Hollow Man.
Right.
So it was not a good fit.
Right.
The reason that I saw this twice opening weekend,
Mhm.
this was a big summer for me. It's the first summer I had a friend who had a driver's license.
Mhm.
So
Sure,
we were
right.
free.
2000, the summer
Yes.
of 2000.
Yeah.
We were free. And we could go do whatever we wanted.
I don't even know where you grew up. I don't know where you're from.
From Bryn Mawr,
Okay.
outside
okay.
of Philadelphia.
Right.
So if anyone saw Hollow Man opening weekend at the King of Prussia movie theater, I was probably there.
Because like
I saw it
odds
twice.
were, you
There's
were
maybe
there.
Probably-
a 1 in 10 chance.
Probably Friday and Sunday, but I'm not ruling out that it might have been Friday and Saturday.
So what for you, age 16 or how, like what was it like, I can't wait to see this new Verhoeven movie? Was it like I'm a big Kevin Bacon fan, or was it just like there's an R-rated violent like horror movie out in August that I can't wait to see?
Or are you an invisible guy?
Or were you?
I was an invisible boy.
Right.
All of the above. I mean,
This was also a big special effects movie. Like if you
Very
were a
exciting to me, yes.
filmmaking nerd, this movie was kind of
For sure.
hyped up.
if you were watching HBO First Looks,
Yes.
and things in the 20 at the time, this was huge for me. But all of the above. But this was for me, like right at the time where I was becoming aware of the whole game of talking about directors. So
Sure,
my whole
right,
thing
right.
would have been like, come on, guys, this is the director of
Sure.
RoboCop and other movies that we like.
This isn't just some movie.
Yeah,
this
like-
is part of it.
Was it RoboCop Total Recall, or was it also, were you also like into Showgirls and Starship
I
Troopers?
was only at that time into Starship Troopers.
Right.
I probably hadn't seen Showgirls yet.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I was just like, guys, we know Paul Verhoeven. This is an important person.
Right.
So that was it. And also for the other reason that I'll get to shortly.
Did you get people to accompany
God,
you?
this is like he's
It's
got
not
us on a
that-
string.
It's not that exciting. When it's revealed, you'll roll your eyes probably.
I can't wait. Did you get people to go with you?
Yeah.
It was different groups
Well,
each time?
my friend with the driver's license.
Okay.
Right.
Right.
Sure. Both times?
Maybe.
Wow.
I just
Wow.
think we liked the effects. And then
The effects are very fun to talk about.
this was like, we also had fake IDs to get into R-rated movies because
Awesome.
this movie theater really carded.
Yeah.
So whenever we could get into one, we felt like we'd gotten away with something. Generally, it would then be a double. You'd stick around or maybe buy a PG-13 movie.
Right.
But I saw this movie twice opening weekend. And then not again until 3 days ago.
Wow.
I did not see this movie in theaters because it was rated 18 because I lived in Britain.
Ding dong, ding dong.
And, in Britain, movies are rated 12, 15, or 18. And if you're under 18, you can't get it.
It's not an R-rated thing where
No.
it's about getting
No adult
an
can get
accompanying
you in.
guardian. Right.
It was rated 18, which only movies that are either like incredibly sexually explicit or
Yeah.
really violent are rated 18.
and this movie's kind of both.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And sexual violence will usually get you an 18.
Yeah.
And so I had to wait for video on Hollow Man, but I had the poster in my room.
Whoa. Before you had seen it?
Yes, because those were the days when I would just get posters. You could like go to the movie theater. I could go
Sure.
to the Odeon and just be like, "Do you have any like leftover posters?"
I love that era.
And they would just give them to
I
me.
wonder if
Yeah.
they still do that.
I bet they do.
I see that like sometimes when I'm at a screening at some like far away art
That's
house
the
theater.
thing.
Like they don't do it here.
Like, I don't think you could walk into like the AMC 34th Street, but like, I think if you're like a local theater, like they're just like, yeah, we got a bunch of shit in the back we don't need, like standees and all that stuff.
I'm a man of many regrets in life.
Sure.
I'm filled to the brim with regrets. One of the top ones for me was I went to what at the time I believed would be like the last public screening of Margaret
Sure.
before the Save Margaret campaign happened when it just played
Did you
at
see it at the Cinema Village?
the Sunshine. No, before that.
It was okay.
It was
right.
originally
before it
only
came
at the
back
Sunshine,
Cinema Village,
right? And it was there for like 10 days in September before it was ousted. And I was so obsessed with it that I knew, okay, this is the last day it's going to be playing. I saw the latest showing on the Thursday.
So you
before they
asked for the
kicked it out.
poster?
I saw them pulling the poster down. I didn't ask for it.
Oh.
And I was like, they're never going to release this movie on DVD because it was caught up in so much weird legal
No, I
limbo.
remember at the time
Yeah.
it did feel like this sort of ephemeral thing.
I
And
felt
then, of
like if
course,
I don't see it a second time in
everyone
theaters,
rallied
I
to the
will
cause,
never
yeah.
see it again because the cause didn't pop up for like 2 more months. But I was like, I could get this Margaret poster. And even though it then probably became more available, the idea of
could
it
get
being
one
like
now.
the one they
Yeah, no,
pulled
there's
down from the
romantic.
Sunshine.
No, I just remember, I mean, I don't know if you remember the Hollow Man poster. Do you guys remember? It's like
Yeah.
a sort of a silhouette, white on black.
Yeah, it's a good poster.
When you said you were a man of many regrets, I thought you were going to say that you didn't see this in the theater.
I also didn't see it in the theater. I
Well,
had
you were
not
probably
seen
pretty
it.
young.
Yeah, I
right?
had
You
not
were-
seen it until 2 nights ago.
Oh,
I was
interesting.
preparing
okay.
for this.
I also realized-
rented it whenever
Yeah.
it came out on
I
VHS.
also realized I told the lie because I did rent this on DVD and watch it right when it came out because this was a big early DVD. Too.
Sure.
Yes, yes.
Because it was like the kind of movie you wanted in the DVD format with the good sound.
Right.
And I believe it had the
special features about the
the
making
normal
of.
2000 era special features.
Right.
Do you
A
guys-
featurette.
Do you guys remember Superbit?
Yes, this was a super bit.
This was a Superbit.
Right.
Superbit was
I'm glad I was
Sony's
trying
thing.
to remember what that
Yes.
was called. I could picture the silver box, but I couldn't remember. I was going to say Ultra Bit.
It was Superbit,
Premium
and it
DVD
had like this
videos.
steel
Yes.
border frame around the movie.
Yeah, it
poster.
looked like you had bought the Terminator 2 DVD
Yes.
for all DVDs.
for all DVDs.
Yes.
And the idea was we're going so fucking extreme on the picture quality here, even though it's standard def,
Right.
that we don't even have space for special features.
Right.
It's
right,
all
right.
the movie. That was like the big deal, was like if you were a real
Yeah.
like kind of like cinephile, you'd get a super bit, but then you'd also have to get the regular commercial release so that you could have the making of stuff.
Are you saying that when you watched this movie for the first time, you watched it on a super bit?
I watched it on a super bit.
Congrats to you for watching. I bought the Blu-ray, so I own this movie on Blu-ray now.
I'm gonna buy it.
Which I usually with
Yeah.
Blank Check, I enjoy when we pick a new director. I go
Yeah.
to Amazon, I load it up on the Blu-rays because they're usually cheap because Blu-rays you can get them for like $2.
Yeah.
And then I there is always that moment where I'm like, yeah, but I'm not going to buy this one. This I can
Sure,
rent.
sure.
You know?
Do I want to own this forever?
Yeah. But that's why I own like The Weight of Water on Blu-ray or whatever. You know, no, on iTunes. I think.
Sure.
But I had the poster. Can you tell me the tagline? Because I think it's a great tagline.
Fuck. I was looking at the poster last night.
It's a question and an answer.
Is it what would you do or some
It's
hypothetical pondering?
Yeah.
think you're alone. Think again.
Oh, okay.
That is a question and an answer.
Mhm.
Yeah. Ding dong. Ding dong.
Griff,
ding
Griff,
dong,
get the door. Get the
ding
door.
dong. Let me get the door.
Delivery?
Well, I don't think we ordered anything.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I think what
Got this big box. Let me just drop this off. I'll call up my supervisor, see if false delivery.
Okay.
Well, you're just gonna leave the. Oh wow! All right, and he's gone.
Oh, he's gone. What's in the box? What's in the box?
What's in the box? Playing music or something.
Is this a cereal box?
Hello, I'm Sarah Koenig, and I'm inside a box.
Oh God!
It's a cereal box.
Yeah,
I
it
heard
is.
you guys wanted a cereal box.
I think there's just been a bit of a mix up.
I asked myself, who would want a cereal box? Why would someone order that?
I think a lot of
What
people.
is this box doing here in this room?
Sarah.
Yeah. So
I know you're
I can't hear
monologuing.
you very well. I'm inside a box.
Ben, can you just get the box off of her? Just open it up.
All right. Here you go.
All right. Sarah, hi.
Sarah,
Hi, what's going on?
you're a legend in podcasting.
Oh.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you. And I thought to myself, why is he complimenting me? Is this for some greater gain? Or is he just being nice?
Sarah, if you can just focus in on me for a second. I know that's hard.
I stared in David's eyes. He seemed trustworthy, but was I falling for him?
Well,
Could I be objective anymore?
Sarah, let me tell you about Cereal Box. Blank Check is sponsored by Cereal Box this week and Adaptive Studios. And it's an app that National Public Radio has called the HBO of reading. You work for National Public Radio, so you know what I'm talking about.
I do. Radio, a device we use to listen to audio.
All right. Well, Adaptive Studios, they're an entertainment studio. They reimagine how film and TV and digital projects are developed and produced and distributed.
Much like I reimagined the podcast when I created the first podcast.
Correct. And thanks for that, by the way,
Yeah,
because
thank
this
you.
is going well for us.
You're welcome.
Mail Kip. Cereal Box brings you gripping stories written by best-selling and award-winning teams of writers who develop these stories in a room, like a TV writer's room. They have new episodes released every week, and you can read or listen to all the serials at no extra cost. And you can switch between listening and reading in one click. So, if you're on the subway and listening to it, but then you get off the subway and want to read it on the app, it'll pick up right where you left off.
And I thought to myself, is there any kind of special deal? I guess I'll never know. Some of these questions can never be answered.
Well, they've got this new serial called False Idols, and our listeners can get this series now with a 20% discount on the first season of False Idols. If you go to cerealbox.com/blankcheck.
A 20% discount. Wow. Now, for some perspective, usually people pay 100%.
Right, where you get 20% off if you go to serialbox.com/blankcheck.
Only paying 80%?
You have to go to cerealbox.com/blankcheck, or you can go to the redeem page and use the code check18. But then you will get a 20% discount on the first season of False Idols.
So I have to check the box 18 times?
No, you just use the code check18 on the redeem page.
But what
Sarah,
about Jay?
I'm going to let you finish, but let me talk about Let me talk about false idols for 1 second.
Sure thing.
You know, it's about an FBI linguist, Layla El-Deeb, who is deep undercover, posing as an heiress in the Middle East and has to infiltrate highest echelons of society, trace some priceless relics, and her troubled past and her growing feelings for an art dealer's son, complicate her judgment, and there's a big terrorist plot that she has to uncover, and she has to decide where her loyalties lie. It's it's heady stuff. It's like the kind of stuff that you like to dig into.
Yeah, that sounds interesting. But it still leaves one question. What about the Nisha call?
Forget the Nisha call just for 1 second, and let me
Very
remind
tough.
you to
America
go to
cannot forget about the Nisha call.
SERIALBOX.com/blank check, or go to the redeem page and use code check18 for 20% off the first season of False Idols.
Well, thank you.
You know, I want to put you back in the box.
Okay.
Yeah,
Before
put it
I do,
back.
just say Jay and Anand did it together.
Oh, all right.
Hey, sorry about that. Wrong. I was supposed to deliver this to Flat Stanley. Do you know where he lives?
Oh boy, he's always mailing himself.
Flat Stanley.
everywhere.
He's very famous. Everyone knows who Flat Stanley is. Forget it. I'll figure it out.
Sorry.
And as I was telling Alex off mic, in the 15 or so minutes before you showed up, whatever period of time that was.
2 hours.
Kevin Bacon is my favorite actor, as I think I might have mentioned on this podcast.
And you've mentioned a lot in your life. You like to put some bacon on the dish if you can.
I love a side of bacon or
Or on top, a crumble.
Yeah, main of
a strip in the middle. You're fine with whatever. And boy, you get some bacon strip in this movie.
This was one of those first movies.
You get some bacon strip.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We'll get into it.
Is this the most CGI
bacon
penis?
dick?
No, because I was thinking
'cause
it sounded this in
trumps it.
Watchmen.
I think
this trumps it.
This has you more thinking about the fact that his, dick is sort of flapping around as he's doing all these horrible things, like killing poor Greg Grunberg.
Yes, and this movie
he was
spoilers.
killed by a naked man.
And this movie has it has the dick depicted in different states.
Yeah, right.
Like you rarely had to use CGI.
This was they didn't scan Billy Crudup's dick. They scanned Kevin Bacon's dick. That's his
they definitely
dick.
they just had an artist come up with a dick for Watchmen. This is Kevin Bacon's dick in 15 different forms.
Right. Yeah, they probably had a whole day of photographing it from every angle.
But, I mean, pointedly they did.
I
read a lot of stuff on
I
this
loved
movie.
Kevin Bacon.
Yes, you love Kevin Bacon.
And so I was very excited for this movie because it was that rare Kevin Bacon vehicle.
Yes.
Which, usually he was your off-ball guy, but he had Stir of Echoes the year before, which I think is an underrated little movie. It's like a nice little scary movie that got totally blown out of the water by The Sixth Sense.
Yeah.
And then he was in My Dog Skip.
Sure, this same year.
And Hollow Man. And then after that, he stopped being a star.
Because 80s, he's a leading man. And then 2000s, he becomes either a villain or the right-hand man, good guy.
Right, but
you skip the 90s.
You skip the 90s in which he has this...
I'm sorry, that's why I meant the 90s was. The 90s was that.
Right,
He plays a lot of heavies.
Heavies, villains, weird guys, this incredible character run that is
Apollo 13.
the basis of the game, of the 6 Degrees game.
Sure.
Where it's he just pops up in a lot of things in a lot of different scenarios with
JFK,
a lot of great actors.
Murder in the First.
Do you want me to run it down for
River
you?
Wild, run it down for me.
Yeah, The Big Picture, which I think is a great movie.
The Christopher Guest one?
Yes. Tremors, Flatliners, JFK, which he's so good in.
Mm-hmm.
Few Good Men, which is where I fell in love with him. The Air Up There, in which he's circumcised on screen. It's the second thing I've told you about circumcision today, Alex.
I have to wonder what the first one is, Griffin.
The River Wild,
which
I love that movie.
Yeah.
And I love him in that movie. Murder in the First, his only SAG nomination.
And then River Wild
Apollo
got a
13.
Globe nomination, right?
I think that's right.
I think for both those movies, people thought he might get the Oscar nom, and then he didn't.
Apollo 13, Sleepers, and then Sleepers is where he really starts to be let me just be really monstrous on screen a lot of the time. Wild Things, Stir of Echoes,
Well, he starts engaging in the kinky side. He gets a little kinky, right? Even when he's not playing sexually explicit characters, there's a sort of weird dark charm to what he's doing a lot.
How do you feel about Bacon?
Well, that's a great run of notable movies.
Yeah.
There's nothing in there that everyone's wait, what is that?
Right. Yeah.
And working with some good directors.
He was
too.
never an anonymous guy, and I kind of was thinking during this movies like this are so amazing because there was this brief window that I was kind of trying to figure out, and I'm sure you'll have more on, where guys like your Bacons and your Goldblums and your Cages suddenly somehow became like a viable studio leading man for a summer release, where it's like
they're kind of locked into
Nicolas
that.
Cage somehow goes from Wild at Heart to Con Air in like 6 years.
Right.
And like Kevin Bacon somehow goes from like, those things to this in like 10 years.
Goldblum had a point where he was in 3 of the 20 highest grossing movies of all time, which is crazy to think about.
And that's like after he was making,
Transylvania,
the tall
like
guy,
right.
and like Trapped and, deep cover. Like and then suddenly he's just the leading. And I feel like Bacon is the same kind of thing in this movie, which I believe as a thing totally ends around this time.
Yes.
Those guys are either movie stars, but then there's no more like Steve Buscemi becomes the leading man in a movie. Like he gets to be in there, but I feel like watching this movie and thinking like, oh, there was a time where a 45-year-old man who became famous 15 years ago is now the lead in a studio summer movie.
Yeah.
Like that was to me a very interesting thing of being like,
but
there's
also,
no version of this now.
I mean, we could just talk about Bacon for this entire episode, but you go like, obviously Footloose is the big thing, right? After being in like, but at that point he'd already been in like 3 iconic movies.
He's already
been in like Animal House,
Animal House
and
Friday the 13th,
right? But like Footloose is what makes him like a leading man, right?
Sure.
And there's a career he could have
he's
played
in
out
like
from
She's
there.
Having a Baby. Like he has those 80s leading guy roles where he's like, he's handsome. I mean, he's a handsome guy.
But he's talked about the fact that he felt uncomfortable
he didn't like
by the way he was sort of viewed after Footloose.
Quicksilver.
Sure.
Hey.
He does a lot of comedies. He does a lot of leading man stuff. But when he gets to the 90s...
A little bit. Oh, and he's in Diner, of course.
Right.
So good in that.
Right. He's got those 3 movies before Footloose. But then when he gets to the 90s, he wants to like shake that off.
Sure.
And I think there's a lack of vanity to him that I've always really loved. For a guy who could have been just a very conventional leading man at that point, doing things where he's not above the title, or where he's number 2, or where he's playing the oddball, or just doing like heavy lifting support like Apollo 13.
Love him in that.
He seems to just fucking love acting,
Yes.
And I don't know if you guys read this. I must have read this when it was published as well, which was
he has a
weird
very good
'cause I hadn't
reputation
read it.
too.
Yes.
Just like a nice guy.
Hardworking dude.
Right. Good guy.
He, when this movie was coming out, wrote a column that I think ran 2 or 3 consecutive weeks in Entertainment Weekly called The Hollow Man Diaries.
Mm-hmm. That must have been a big part of why I was so excited. For
I have this called up.
Okay, great.
Oh, no.
Great,
I owned this copy of Entertainment Weekly, and I read it over and over again, his diaries. And it includes his utter depression over the flop of Stir of Echoes, which came out while he was shooting this.
Right.
And then just the miserable process of making this movie and being like cast in rubber and wax.
But
and
it
all
goes
that.
from him being miserable about trying to get this movie and thinking he wasn't going to get it to him being miserable about making this movie.
The first half of the diary is him trying to impress Paul Verhoeven and get this gig.
And their first choice was Robert Downey Jr.
Interesting.
Who turned it down, and he remembers reading in the trades. He thought he was going to get it. He reads that they've offered to Robert Downey Jr. and he hits rock bottom.
Right.
Which you go, at this point, Kevin Bacon's been famous for like 20 years, right? Or has been a working actor for 20 years, has been hyper famous for like 15 of those.
Right.
And still is in this state where he's like, oh, fuck, I'm not going to get the part. Like he's like Griffin Newman staying up until 6 o'clock in the morning, being 2 hours late to his podcast because he's stressing out about getting a job, you know? I'm an idiot. But he, really fucking wanted this job and thought he wasn't going to get it and felt like there's a really touching thing at the end of the diary where he's complaining to his daughter, who was like 8 at the time, about like the movie and the toll it had taken on him and everything. And she said, Dad, you remember how excited you were when you got this and you were jumping up and down and crying?
Right.
But
like you really wanted this part.
It's cool that he didn't think like, I'm not going to get it because I'm kind of an older guy and I don't get the lead in movies anymore.
Right.
He thought he wasn't going to get it because he just thought he lost it.
And not only that, like he had given it away where he's like, I wasn't even trying to get leading parts anymore. So maybe, I can't anymore.
And you go, it's like him versus Downey Jr. And Downey Jr. was at like a real rocky state at this point. This was him like trying to get back up.
Yeah.
But he still had a couple more like slapdowns after this. This is like in between Wonder Boys and Ally McBeal.
Well, Wonder Boys comes out this same year.
Right.
And Ally McBeal is 01, I believe.
In the Variety piece where they say that he was the first choice, it says that he was just filming Wonder Boys.
Yeah.
He was sort of on a reclamation tour.
I think Downey Jr. probably wisely realized he couldn't play someone this monstrous if he was trying to like get America's heart back.
Which is also exactly why I think they wanted him to do this, because he was so seedy at this point in time.
But he's like in Dreams as a creep. Like he had done some creeps recently. So
Downey was.
Yeah, Downey.
Yeah.
So do you feel like Bacon at this time, like who does he have to impress in Paul Verhoeven, who just, maybe you've covered this, but like is coming off of a pretty bad period himself.
Yeah.
Yes, and not only that, had just made a movie featuring essentially like animated, Barbie and Ken dolls. Like it's not like he was like, look, I just worked with Casper Van Dien and Kevin, so I don't know if I'm gonna like.
But he said he felt the need to make a movie that like worked. He was like feeling a little smarted.
That was what compelled him to do this movie. He doesn't like this movie.
Right?
Do you know about like he's very down on this movie
online after watching it.
Yeah, where he's just like, I made that movie essentially to prove this point that I could still make like a movie that made money.
And he said he was so depressed afterwards that he was like, he moved back to Denmark.
Right. And I think he kind of correctly said like, a lot of people could have made this movie. And I never felt that way about a movie I made before. Mm-hmm. And I think he's right because the script for this movie is really weak.
Yeah.
Although Alex may disagree, and I'm excited for Alex's take and for the mystery of why he wants to talk Alban and all the other things that are going to come up on this podcast.
Sure. He's correct in a sense that no one else could have made his movies
the way they were made.
Right. But this movie, everything that's interesting about it is Verhoeven.
Sure.
There's sections of this movie, there are elements of this movie that feel a little more conventional. But I'm saying that I consider that baked into the cake. I think what's interesting
into the cake.
I consider bacon into the cake. I think everything that's interesting about the visual effects in this movie is very much in line with where he was at in terms of visual effects at that point in time.
He was very excitingly engaged with that stuff. I mean, at least after Starship Troopers.
Yes.
Not prior to that at all, really.
Right.
And he's just like, it just seems so pointless for him to make a movie that has no point of view and nothing to say, which all of the other movies, RoboCop, Total Recall, right up until Starship Troopers, they all have a very distinct point of view. But also, like, a lot of those movies, in my recollection, are things that like other directors were always attached to, like Cronenberg attached to Total Recall.
Right.
But then Verhoeven makes it, and it's obviously the only good version of that movie that would have been made.
Yes.
Whereas this feels like, and I have a fun list of potential other directors that Verhoeven is not.
Yeah.
But this feels like, and again, these are not all people of this exact moment, but like, I'm going to try to find it because I wrote down some fun ones.
There's the one obviously very Verhoeven-y hook to this movie, which is the Invisible Man would just be a creep.
He would rape people.
Right.
Yeah. That wasn't necessarily his idea.
No, I assume the script had.
I'm also curious, like, what the origin is of the, like, not your grandfather's blank, and like why that would have seemed like a good idea.
Well, I think there's an even bigger thing. I mean, you made your Dark Universe joke earlier, but there was this run that ends with this movie essentially, but runs through the 90s of let's take the Universal monsters.
So you're saying with this Kenneth Branagh's Frankenstein.
Even before that, Wolf.
Bram Stoker's Dracula and Wolf.
Yes.
I think all four of these movies are, let's take the classic Universal
monsters. And The Mummy,
monsters.
which I think is right before this.
Yes, The Mummy is 99.
Yes, but I think that's outside of this. The four movies
I think that's in this.
The point I'm making is the four movies that are, what if we take the classic monsters and make them really sexual?
Yeah, rated R. Right. No, right. I agree with you on that.
Which is Wolf, Frankenstein, Dracula, and this. And then Shape of Water, weirdly, is a spiritual.
Shape of Water is its own thing.
You're saying this is the original Dark Universe.
Yes.
I said that
man, imagine if you united Nicholson, Bacon, Oldman, De Niro,
yes,
and Arnold Vosloo.
Yeah, that's a murderer's row. But there was like a lot of that stuff was happening.
Yes,
for whatever reason. But none of those. I mean, they're all kind of not your grandfather's. So and so.
They're all sort of like modern takes.
And The Mummy was the only one that Universal actually did, which is the one that isn't hypersexual.
But to that end, like. You know, like watching this and thinking about it in the context of Verhoeven, who I love tremendously as a filmmaker. Like, this is not Stephen Sommers or like Stephen Norrington or like Len Weissman or like any of these kind of like genre-y guys who you can make
from
like
that era.
An R-rated genre movie. Like any of them could have done that, but Verhoeven's like, he's special. He could do something else. And instead he just kind of makes the like Van Helsing underworld version of this movie.
Yeah.
Van Helsing's a good follow-up to what you were talking about.
Well,
that's the Avengers of the 90s Dark Universe.
Trying to do it backwards.
Yeah.
I kept on thinking during this, like, could you imagine if this movie came out in like August of this year? Like how the whole fucking critical community would react to this movie, which at the time...
To this exact movie?
Yes.
Like, yeah.
What I'm saying is when this movie came out, everyone was like, diminishing returns for Verhoeven. But it's so bizarre. I don't think it's a perfect movie.
No.
But it's so its own fucking thing, and it actually does have ideas in it. I don't think it has a coherent thesis, which the other Verhoeven movies, the Hollywood films, do.
Right.
I think this movie is more just batting around a lot of stuff. And the fact that the ending is such a shrug goes to show that he didn't really have anything he was like winding up to say.
I mean, this movie is, what if a guy was an invisible man,
Yeah.
right? Okay, 20 minutes and he becomes invisible. And then immediately it attacks a woman.
Squeezes her boobs.
Right.
Like, I mean, like
And while
2
he's
minutes
invisible.
in, he
Yeah.
squeezes Kim Dickens' boobs. 10 minutes in, he's raped a woman.
Well-
And then there's an hour and a half of movie left.
No,
which-
there's like an hour. I was watching the clock pretty close.
I was watching the clock.
Because what I think is interesting about this movie
Maybe
is it's
50
essentially
minutes.
the first half is kind of a character study of what would be the psychological effects if you didn't have. If
Yeah,
it's sort of what would you do if you could get away with anything?
Right.
And then there's a point where the movie just becomes a slasher film.
Yes, exactly. It's just
The last half.
One,
Right,
one
right.
being
That's
picked
like the
off.
halfway point.
It's
Yeah.
very strange how like non-specifically Verhoeven-y it is, but also like to your point of like what if it came out? I don't think at this time people thought about him.
No,
I think like this is
That-
something
No,
I,
that's
not really.
the point I'm
I think
trying
I
to
wrote
make,
you both an
guess.
email
Yeah,
about
yeah.
this, like in the middle of your Catherine Bigelow series. Like, I think this is a movie that could have been reviewed upon release without people mentioning that Paul Verhoeven made it.
Yeah,
Because at the time, no one really took him seriously.
Yes.
except
He was-
that he was famous as having made hits, but no one was like, "Is Verhoeven back after the bomb of Starship Troopers?" It was just like, whatever. This is some summer thriller.
He almost
Yes.
was viewed like Wolfgang Peterson,
Oh,
where
yes,
it's like
exactly.
you divorced Das Boot from the guy who's currently
Right,
making
right.
Poseidon. I remember because I would read all the fucking reviews of everything, whether or not I was seeing it.
Me
And I
too.
remember everyone would just be like, it's a dumb summer, like, fuck you, whatever. And I remember Time Out New York was the one place that like viewed this of a piece with the Verhoeven arc.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait, this is supposed to be an interesting movie? Like, this is a movie that people are engaging with critically, but it was the only review I read that was going like, Verhoeven's like really smart about the fact that like, if someone had the power to become invisible, a man would just use it for sexual deviance.
which is very that's a point of view. But also, like, this confuses the fact that the other Paul Verhoeven movies were very satirical,
Yes.
but also lurid and gross and sexual,
Right.
and this is just lurid and gross
Yes.
and sexual.
The
Yes.
problem
This is
with this
removing the
movie lacks
satirical.
satire.
Yes.
Which
for
all
sure.
of them are.
Yes,
Every single
correct.
one of them.
Correct. They're all comedies.
Yeah, in like a
Yeah.
way, they're even Elle and like
Yeah.
still like
yeah, Elle's a comedy.
he does these things that are like, yeah, but what's like absurd about this situation is this thing that I can see because I'm this
Right.
weird Dutchman with
right.
black humor.
He's Uatu the Watcher.
very much so.
Yes.
The
Yes.
Dutch Uatu, the one.
Yeah, yes.
And yet, like this, just there's no like. But what's absurd about this is it's just like what's absurd about this is how much blood there is, and what's absurd about this
Yes.
is like
Yes.
watching a invisible boob gets squeezed by an invisible hand.
Right.
Well, that's the thing.
Which,
is,
by the way, the
yeah.
only image from this movie I remembered, other than the infrared penis dangling.
I remember
very
the
bizarre.
infrared
Yeah.
dicks. I remember
were
him
the-
smashing the dog to pieces for like no reason except
Yeah.
they kind of needed him to do something crazy, you know, for like it'd been 10 minutes since he'd done something crazy.
Sure.
And I remember also Bacon describing in his diary how they shot that scene, which is he has a real dog
Yeah.
and he's like, hey, doggy. And then he passes the dog off screen and is handed
A plush
a fake
yeah.
dog full of blood that he then smashes
jeez.
around.
Yeah.
And when I rewatched it, I noticed, he totally like just
he
like
takes it out of frame.
Yeah.
The thing with this movie for me is that it has some of the most bizarre, upsetting, I think brilliant imagery he's ever come up with in any film. Because he's mostly just kind of into the visual possibilities of this guy, the stages
Yeah.
of his body and the way he interacts with the elements.
Right, well,
but there are
that
moments of
stuff's
this
fun,
movie
yeah.
where it like feels like there are images that feel like fucking like Unshan Andalou for me, where it's like this just makes me so fucking uncomfortable.
Like what?
When she has the sort of makeshift flamethrower,
Mhm.
and he's in his weird burned state.
Yeah, that's cool.
that is very cool.
right.
The
where-
rubber mask is cool too.
the rubber mask is
The rubber mask
incredible.
is so good.
It's super fucking
Super
upsetting.
cool.
But I even think things like the groping are really bizarre. The way they do the CGI fingerprints.
the first
when he's
groping
choking
scene.
Greg Grunberg.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff where it's his hands touching things. The way it's realized is like really fucking creepy to me.
But my complaint is kind of like the set is sort of anonymous.
It's a weird donut underground.
Right. So much,
Lab,
so
yeah.
many action sequences take place in a hallway.
It also feels to me like I was talking to someone who worked on The Shape of Water.
Yeah.
Asking about how they got it down for that budget because the sets are so big in that movie when they're in like the underground lab.
Yeah.
And they were like, the secret is we only had like one set.
Right.
And we shoot it from different angles and we redress it.
Right.
And this feels like a movie where they came up with one section of the lab.
Yeah.
And the whole movie takes place in these fucking hallways that they keep on shooting from different angles to make it look like it's an intricate series of like an underground maze.
After the movie ended, I wrote this down. I went back and like maybe I didn't exactly, but like there's like 37 minutes of this movie that does not leave the lab, except for one short scene with Brolin and Elizabeth Shue at their house, and then it's like a 40-second scene, and then they're back to the lab.
And you're mostly in these hallways. You know, it's like it gets very repetitive.
It's almost entirely in this lab.
But, from like 20 to 55, there's 60 seconds not in this lab, which is weird.
And it's also a very indifferently designed lab.
But it also feels like if the movie was budget like 55.
No, the budget was really high, 95
It feels
million.
like 60 of that is special effects.
Well,
and the rest of it is like a set.
Pointedly, it says on the Wikipedia, and who knows how accurate this is, the budget was 90 and 55 was just for the digital effects.
I mean, that's perfectly logical.
Like when he set out to make this movie, he was like, I want to push fucking visual effects. $55 million goes towards CGI. The rest of it will like do what we can.
That balance is not weird. I mean, that's
not at all.
Ordinary, I think.
Right.
It's it's cool that they were like, but also the movie can be violent and sexual.
Yeah.
We're not going to protect our investment by making this movie accessible to people.
No, it's a Columbia movie. It's a big studio movie. I mean, it came out in August, which in 2000 is your kind of dumping ground for your more lurid blockbusters. But yes.
But it did pretty well. I mean, it opened big.
It did okay.
It opened very big, especially considering August, and it did well overseas.
It did okay. It made 190 worldwide. It made 73 domestic.
I think that's a reason they might have been hesitant to cast Bacon, though. It's like, A, we designed this movie to not need that big of a star, and B, will a star that well-known be okay being invisible for that much of the movie, being this unsympathetic?
Not being invisible.
So we got to talk about billing, because this is the first email I sent you guys once I fired this up. I couldn't believe it. I had totally forgotten, even though I had the poster in my house. In my room next to a Training Day poster with just a huge Denzel and like a tiny sliver of Ethan Hawke's face behind him.
That's like a great indifferent set design for some young man's bedroom.
Where it's just like, I don't know, these movies are violent.
And then you would say, why are those the two movies in his bedroom? And then it's like, oh, they're both released by the studio that made this movie.
Right. And they both came out in the summer of 2000.
It's a rom-com with a flashback to the character being a teenager in 2001, and those are the two posters.
Training Day is 2001, I believe. Yeah, right.
I said 2001.
Yeah, no, I know. I was correcting myself. Yeah.
You know what does a really good version of that? The movie that you already love because you've seen it now, The Post. There's a scene at the beginning where they break into where are they? One of the early break-in scenes. They're surrounded by Fox posters, and it's really good era-appropriate Fox posters. It's when Ellsberg is copying the papers.
Oh yeah, right. You're right. Yeah, like Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
You'll love it. It's really good.
I've loved it by now.
Original Planet of the Apes. You've loved it. It's your favorite movie of the year, probably.
Went wild for Odenkirk's performance.
But you're going to talk about the Holloman billing.
Oh, yes. Okay, so the billing of this movie, thank you, Alex.
I'm just excited to talk about it because it's baffling.
Is number one billed, Elizabeth Shue.
Now, they got her first.
Yes.
Like, they made it very clear that the most important role for them was her because I think they viewed that as, this is our Laurie Strode, you know? This is our final girl. That's really who the audience is going to have to connect with in this movie, and thought maybe we'll get a down-on-his-luck character actor to play the Hollow Man.
But still, at this time, they were like, you know, who can be our final girl is like a 40-year-old woman.
Right.
That's
who's
true.
Like 4 years off of an Oscar nomination, is kind of in a career swing.
Well, let me give you her, after, Elizabeth Shue and as fucking Hamlet 2 says, Dreamer with the fucking horse. Isn't that the line?
But she has a big 80s. Where, it's Dreamer. Yeah. She has a big 80s with Karate Kid and the Back to the Future sequels and Adventures in Babysitting.
Right. And then she's in The Underneath, and then she's in Leaving Las Vegas.
Suddenly she's like a serious actor now.
So then 96, she's in The Trigger Effect, the David Koepp movie. Forget that. Then she's in The Saint.
So they both work with Koepp.
They did both work with Koepp.
Yeah.
Koepp's people.
The Saint is a huge bomb.
Sure. But it was a big paycheck for her.
Yeah, and she's above the title. Like,
and she wouldn't have gotten that part Leaving Las Vegas. That was a big revival.
And then she's in Deconstructing Harry.
Right.
Then she's in Palmetto.
What's Palmetto?
What's Palmetto?
Volker Schlondorf, fucking Woody Harrelson.
It's a very, very sexy thriller.
Gina Gershon, I believe.
I think so,
in a classic, like, mid-90s
it's
Gina
like,
Gershon role.
If it's not The Bayou, it's like essentially The Bayou. It's like everyone's sweaty and like the lawyer's office is like above something.
Yeah, there's like fans.
Yeah.
It's like that run. It's true. That run of mid-90s are like Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil or like Twilight. These movies where like
Savannah.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Twilight's a weird one. Robert Benton's Twilight.
Fucking like
Paul Newman, Hackman, and Sarandon.
It's like hot movies about hot like sexual adults in Louisiana or
Blood
Florida.
and Wine.
Yeah, Indecent Exposure.
It's like anyway.
Or Decent Proposal. That's what I'm thinking of, right?
Well, that was actually a hit.
Yeah.
That's
the
also
best
Woody.
version
That's
of
also
that.
Woody.
Yeah.
That's
as well
also
as
Woody. I mean,
Yeah.
Indecent Proposal has the best trailer of all time.
Yeah, Woody had a sexy 90s.
He did.
Yeah.
Even though his hair was thinning and he was the idiot from Cheers. I mean, no offense,
He has a
Woody.
weird underbite.
Palmetto is very solid, though. I check that out if you like Elizabeth
check
Shue.
that
I
out.
gotta
Yeah.
check that.
Yeah.
There's like a very
fuck out.
sexual, like I think Woody Harrelson's either like a cop or a lawyer, but there's a
Yeah.
very sexual like frisking thing that becomes like a consensual bit of fondling between him and Elizabeth Shue.
And then
She was great. I mean, she's very.
But I'm just Cousin Bet, whatever. Molly, I've never even heard of
Oh, I looked
that.
Molly up. It's like a handicapped adult movie.
Oh my
I
god!
think it's either Down syndrome or autism or something. I instantly wanted to see it.
Yeah,
after
that's actually autistic.
She's
Oh
so
my God.
fucking good in Leaving Las Vegas, a movie I've never been crazy about.
I like that movie. I don't know. How do you feel about Leaving Las Vegas?
I haven't seen it since.
Yeah, I
a long
haven't
time,
seen
but
it since
I
was
bet.
a
I bet it would hold
teenager.
up.
I think it doesn't hold up. I think she's the element that holds up entirely. And it was because she was mostly like a kind of teen star in the 80s. It was like a big deal that now, like, oh, wait, this is a serious actor.
Right.
And then she doesn't really get the parts that play to her ability.
She makes some
again
terrible
for that.
decisions,
Yes.
I would say, or
Sure.
whatever. She just doesn't get the right roles. This is her last role.
And at this point, she's 40, which in this awful fucking industry
Yeah, sure,
is like.
But what's cool is that they're the same age in this movie. I like that they're
I
both.
love that too.
I like that they're both adults.
It's
And
an
they're
adult
pros.
movie.
They're pros.
It's
Right.
it's a very Verhoeven thing. Even
Right.
after Starship Troopers, like she's a sexy adult. He's a handsome adult man.
Yes.
Her character likes sex a lot in this movie. I don't know
Yeah.
if you noticed that
Yeah.
seems to be the only defining character trait she has.
Unfortunately.
Is that she
Yeah.
really is sexually aggressive whenever she's alone.
Right.
But it's cool that they're both. It's not. I mean, I don't know who in 2000 it would have been. I'm sure we can think of something, but it's not
Sure.
like 30-year-old woman and 45-year-old man. Who's
Right.
Kind of gross.
It's not Denise Richards and Casper Van Dien.
Right.
Yeah.
Or
Well,
like
no, but
Denise,
you're-
or like Denise Richards
and
and
Kevin Bacon.
Kevin Bacon.
Sure.
In
Yes,
the movie
yes.
Wild Things. Right.
Yes, right.
Yes, it's not Wild Things.
Yeah. No, but I think you're right. I also but I do think like it's almost crazy to me to think that Bacon like had to fight for this role
Yeah.
because I mean, it's like he was born to play this role, which he
I know.
might be upset to hear.
Right.
But it's like you need a guy who you're only going to see for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever.
Yeah.
Who you just need to know like, yeah, the second that guy goes invisible, he is just being the worst.
Well, you know that
Yeah.
because he has like a knee-length leather jacket.
He has a knee-length leather jacket. He lies to Congress like at the drop of a hat.
Yeah.
And he tells the most convoluted, terrible Superman anal sex
boy.
joke.
Yeah.
Like eats up like a minute and a half of
Unbelievable.
screen time.
Longer.
I remember
bad.
that as a big schoolyard joke. I
Like,
remember hearing
I
that
remember
joke all
that
the
joke
time.
too,
Yeah.
but like he tells it slowly.
Even
Very
ben,
slowly.
even Ben jumped in to say how bad that joke
All right,
is.
so Ben,
Even
let's
the Ben
get
Deucer
Ben in there.
jumped in, the producer
Well,
Ben, the
yeah.
purveyor Ben,
Uh,
the Haas, Mr. Positive,
Yeah.
Mr. Positive, the poet laureate, the tiebreaker, the peeper, dirt bike
Right,
Benny,
right. Yep.
soaking wet Benny,
Yeah.
the fart detective, the meat lover.
Mhm.
We haven't wished you a hello fennel in a good period of time.
It's been a
Let's do
while.
Yeah, I mean you are the fuck master.
Yeah.
You are not Professor Crispy.
No.
And you have graduated to certain titles over the course of different miniseries, such as Kylo Ben, producer Ben Kenobi, Ben Night Shyamalan, Ben Say Anything, Ailey Benz with the $, Warhaz, Ben 19, the Fennel Maker, Purdue Urbane, and also, this is the one. Well, whether or not we're doing a bonus episode, he's Robo Haas, I guess, right?
I guess so. But we don't usually name him within
Hoslo
the
Man?
miniseries.
I don't know. Yeah, whatever. We're throwing out options.
You
Okay.
know, thinking about stuff.
People,
Whatever.
have you ever covered that when you do that, Ben just sits with his hand on his forehead, like as though like you're just jabbing him
No.
Good to get that on the
But
record.
I'm glad that you
throughout
pointed
the
that
entire
out.
duration of that? You just because the whole time so far you're kind of engaged, you're watching, you're taking notes.
he's
Then
good at his job.
as soon as that happens, your eyes close and your hand touches your temple.
Well, especially because I do it when Ben's getting ready to actually say something. So I'm stopping him from making a point that he wants to
he
make
needed
at
to
that
point
moment.
out how bad that Justice League joke was,
Yeah.
which is more relevant now than ever. That's like the most bottom of the barrel post like Crimson Peak Tarantino like script polish kind of joke, where it's like you know what this movie needs is like 60 seconds of lewd pop culture.
That's what it is. It's a
It's
guy who
so
thinks
bad.
he's Tarantino, who's like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm going to have a whole Superman walk and talk scene.
Right. It's the Mallrats Kryptonite condom.
yes,
bullshit.
it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
We were talking about Kevin Bacon's character wearing like this long leather jacket.
Yeah.
And the whole problem I had the whole time is they are trying so hard to make science seem cool.
Well, we're also, you have to remember, we're post Ian Malcolm here.
Sure.
Like Goldblum was kind of at the
and
forefront.
post The Fly,
Right.
post David Brundle. All the Goldblum
yeah.
scientists are cool.
That was Goldblum's whole thing was, can I make scientists like rock stars?
Seth Brundle, David Brundle.
Seth Brundle.
Yes.
You got it there.
I played Taboo with my family over the Thanksgiving break,
Humble
which at this
brag.
point was a year ago. Humble
right,
brag,
yeah.
I was teamed up with my mom, who is probably the worst Taboo player in North America.
Uh-huh.
And she...
Because she just says the word by mistake every time, or just she
she's
just doesn't...
bad at both sides of it in every way.
Right.
Here's another thing my mom does during Taboo.
Yeah.
She gets a card and she goes, pass. But at that point, she's already taken up 10 seconds.
Yeah.
But she got fly as a word.
Fly.
And her
Okay.
clue for me was David Cronenberg's first movie.
Right.
And I just like put my head in my hands and said, I know it's not what you think it is. And my siblings were like, that's the most Griffin moment of all time.
right.
Was like, I don't know what
The
word
taboo
you're
word
trying
was
to get
stereo.
me.
Yeah, stereo.
But you
I was like,
couldn't-
is it scanners?
Yeah,
is
but
it
couldn't
rabbit?
you think of what her idea of his
couldn't.
first
I
movie
went
would
through
be?
all of them.
Yeah.
And then I was like, which one was it? And she was like, Fly. And I was like, that was his fucking 6th movie.
Oh, like
7th.
10th.
Yeah,
Like, you
right.
kidding me?
I went like Fast Company. Like I was going like deep cuts. She was like, no, his first one. I was like, it's not the one you think it is. Use a different clue.
I was thinking about The Fly a lot during this.
Yes.
He's a very fly, reckless guy
100%.
doing his experimentation on himself.
Yeah, no, yes,
He's
you're
in
right,
the tradition
you're right.
I already mentioned of like, here's this weird actor from 10 years ago who's now the star of a movie.
Right.
And
Yeah.
also he seems smart and cool and old, so he
Right.
can do whatever.
And Elizabeth Shue kind of has a Gina Davis. She could be a Gina
Yeah.
Davis.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's very Fly-like minus the like overt disgustingness.
But still, and also Brolin is the same as the stand-in boyfriend in The
Yeah.
Fly, who like I don't even remember who the actor is, but like
I don't
he's
either.
just some hunk of
But
meat.
Brolin's a total Baxter in this movie, which is fascinating because it looks like that was going to be the rest of Brolin's career.
Brolin in this movie it's wild to think that he is now Thanos, you know,
I
like
know.
and like whatever, like that he is like Hollywood's like big burly guy.
His
you know?
body is so disgusting in this movie when he
Yes,
has his shirt off. It's
Yeah.
huge and puffy and smooth.
And he's got the glasses, I think, to try and make him look nerdy because
Yeah.
otherwise, like, we're just never going to buy that this guy is the third scientist. Like,
He's also
the
one-
guy who's like,
yes.
I don't know, guys, if that's a good science experiment.
Josh Brolin's one of those guys, and I'm going to say this as delicately as I can. He's one of those guys, and I think Hollywood has now figured out how to shoot him and how to dress him,
Uh-huh.
but he looks like a 6'2" man with dwarfism.
Oh, that's a good point.
He's got very weird proportions.
How
He's got
tall do you think
short
he is,
arms. I think
though?
he's like 6'1".
Really? I don't
Yeah,
think he's
he's
that
got
tall.
very short arms and a really big head and a stubby body.
He's 5'10", which is
Okay.
a perfectly, you know, for Hollywood, pretty tall. Honestly.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I remember like seeing him do monologues on SNL and going like, he looks like he's 5'1", you know?
He's the one who's absurdly rich just from online stock trading, right? Like he
really?
made like so much money doing that. He's sort of like a Jeremy Renner.
That's amazing.
And like being in movies is just like kind of a joke to him
Yeah.
or whatever.
Imagine how much he's cleaning up on bitcoins and stuff.
Oh my god,
he probably yeah.
Thanos likes
Yeah.
bitcoins.
He's
Like,
very weird in this movie, but the scientists are very those two are
Yes.
sexy. Brolin's kind of like a potato.
potato
then-
with glasses, right?
Then you have like the rest of the bench.
You have Kim Dickens, but she's been given this short haircut, I think, so that the audience will be like, she's a real scold. You know
Right.
what I mean? Like,
Right.
I
She's
thought her
Florida.
haircut was more like, oh, she's like crunchy because she
Yeah, she
wears
could be
no
crunchy.
because she wears no bra and loves
Yeah.
animals.
she wears no bra. She's a vet, so I guess she's like.
very 2000 in this movie.
Oh my
Her
god, it's amazing.
entire
The style.
outfit,
She's wearing giant baggy pants with
Yeah.
like little
Totally.
tiny cardigans with
And,
nothing
right,
underneath.
the button top.
I like adore Kim Dickens. I also find her like
I couldn't believe she was in this movie.
incredibly appealing.
Where
like,
was
you
she
know what I
between
mean?
this and Gone Girl?
So I mean,
Because this would have seemed like a great break for someone getting
Yes.
in a Hollywood movie. She's like the fifth character.
Yeah.
And take your
Right.
top off for Verhoeven. There's worse ways to
and
the
then,
top.
exactly.
And then when I saw her in Gone Girl, I was like, who is this actress? She's great.
Yeah.
Where-
Well, she
She does
mostly
her
goes
Lost
to
run.
TV because
Yeah.
before then she's on Deadwood, and
Oh, yeah.
everyone who was on Deadwood then went to Lost
Uh-huh.
because Damon Lindelof was obsessed with Deadwood, and when Deadwood got like kind of untimely canceled,
Yeah.
he like started just literally writing parts for everyone in Deadwood. And so there's like season 3 and 4 of Lost. It's like it practically is just like the Deadwood guest star cavalcade.
they were
like,
they were in the tail
Paula
section.
Malcolmson,
Yeah.
you know, Kim Dickens, welcome them all, you know, and but
Who was she on Lost?
She was Sawyer's.
Yeah, she was
Oh,
Sawyer's
yeah.
recurring
Yeah.
Mark and the
Right.
mother of his child,
right.
Clementine.
Interesting.
But so
She was in The Blind Side too, right?
I want to start at the
Okay,
beginning
sorry.
because we were talking about Palmetto.
Yeah.
Her debut was in Alan Taylor's Palookaville, which is a 1995 movie. William Forsythe, Vincent Gallo, Lisa Gay Hamilton. Like, it's like where we're
Talk
just
about
like,
sex.
just like who?
Yeah.
Frances McDormand is in that movie.
Yeah.
And then, you know, I think she's sort of she was in Zero Effect. Remember that?
Oh,
I think
yeah.
She's sort of the love interest in that. She's in Mercury Rising, which we have invoked a weird
I feel
amount
like you
of
just
times.
talked about that in
Yeah.
an episode
Yeah.
I listened to.
Yeah, I talked about how badly I wanted to see it because it was about a weird kid.
Yeah. And then this year she's in Hollow Man and the Gift. I think she has a small role in the
Okay.
Gift. And then she's in House of Sand and Fog, which I believe she's like the
The
I
sand.
remember her in that. What was Ben doing?
he sent me a hilarious note. I'm never going to do what he asked me to do. But no, she moved to TV. Like
Yeah.
Deadwood, Lost. She was in 12 Miles of Bad Road,
What's that?
the HBO show with Lily Tomlin that was
Oh!
filmed but never aired. I've always been obsessed with that.
Yeah. They shot a full season of that.
And then she's in Treme, which is, I feel like, when people really take her seriously.
Sure. And then she's
She's
great
the
in
best
Gone
part of
Girl.
that show. And
Yeah.
then that's when she sort of loops back around and she's in Gone Girl. And,
Yeah.
you know, the great Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children.
She's she's great, but she's pretty good in this movie. It's a shame that her most memorable scene is having her bosom squeezed by an invisible
Yeah.
hand.
Well, the boob grab scene is just a feat of visual effects where you
Right.
are kind of like, how did they do this?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
It's so upsetting.
Dude, invisible acting fucking rules.
You're just into invisible acting?
I think it's great.
You mean being the invisible one or being acting against someone who's meant to be invisible?
I think it's like for the actor, it's the best kind of performing for
I think
them,
so-
right?
so
and for us.
Would you say that the hour and 50 minutes we were waiting for Griffin, he might actually have already been here?
Thank you.
Oh my god! Wait,
That's what I'm going to do
Just-
in this Much Ballyhooed audition as well, is show up 2 hours late.
Is it
and
the
go,
whole time he was just in here naked,
Yeah.
invisible, waiting to see what we
you
would
feel
say
a
about
presence.
him?
Yeah.
Because we think we're alone, but were we?
No.
Yeah, he was just standing there naked.
I was actually early. You guys don't realize that.
Yeah, that's what happened.
Yeah. Okay, David, I got to bring this up.
Uh,
I got to talk about this. You're going to get upset, but I got to talk about this.
Classic Griff pitch?
This week we're sponsored by Audible.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Ooh, what a twist.
Ooh, an Audible pitch.
Yes.
Yes.
We are sponsored by Audible. Here's the thing. You can listen to us gab about, jaw about in your ears,
That's right.
and you'll get a lot dumber.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what makes you smarter? Books.
Books are good.
You got to get book learned.
But I never have the time for books.
Well,
I'm
you do.
always-
If you're listening to this very podcast right now, you have the time for books.
That's true. I could listen to the book.
This is a two-sided ad. I'm telling you simultaneously to start listening to audiobooks through Audible and to stop listening to our podcast.
You can get the Audible app.
Yeah.
You can find clips. You can navigate through chapters. You can sync it with your Kindle and, go back and forth.
Because this is an Amazon company, baby. You're in good hands.
That's
This is a great
true.
company. Never done anything wrong. Not scary at all.
And if you go to audible.com/check or you text check to 500-500,
You could text it to a number. We're in the future.
you can get a special offer from audible.com, which is a 30-day trial membership. And you can listen to a book.
Yeah.
And I have one in mind, personally.
Because here's the thing.
Yeah.
You're thinking, okay, look, I'm a neophyte. I only do one thing. It's listen to Blank Check. I've never seen a movie. I've never read a book. Where would I start? The only thing I know is Blank Check.
Well, maybe you want to read or listen to a book by a Blank Check guest,
Duh.
like Richard Lawson,
Maybe I heard of him,
who just wrote a book called All We Can Do Is Wait.
but more famously just joined the 5 Timers Club on Blank Check.
Very good point.
Yeah.
So if you go to audible.com/check and you browse the unmatched selection of audiobooks, you can download a title for free and start listening.
It's a book. I just ordered it. I'm excited to rip into it. It's a coming-of-age novel.
Yes. It's narrated by Holly Linneman.
I got the hardback. I got lower back problems like crazy. I'm walking around. This thing's in my backpack. It's clunking around.
Well, instead just go to audible.com/check or you just text check to 500-500.
Right.
And you can get a free 30-day subscription.
But then also buy a hardcover and just leave it in your apartment to help out Richard.
30-day trial
he's a good
membership.
Friend. He's a mensch, and we should support him.
So go to audible.com/check or text check to 500-500 to get started.
All we can do is wait? No. All we can do is sign up for a trial membership on Audible.
That's right.
That's all we can do.
Want to go higher?
That's all we can do. Now about the Hollow Men.
Oh God.
To round out the ensemble, we got Greg Grunberg, aka Fat Keanu Reeves.
Sure, Joey Slotnick.
Okay,
Joey Slotnick.
Now this is where where my thing comes in.
Yes.
Oh, here we go.
Yes.
I need help with this.
Okay.
Because this is important to me, and this is a big part of why I was thinking about this movie a lot when it came out. Do you remember, and if not, someone in your fandom, a blankie has to provide this. Do you remember how much Craig Kilborn made Joey Slotnick a running gag?
No.
Forever.
Slotnick was like his Abe Vigoda?
Yes.
Why?
100%. I don't know.
Was Slotnick a part of the gag? Like,
no.
would he show
he
up?
was always there.
Oh, okay.
Joey Slotnick was always on Craig Kilborn.
As himself.
Because Craig Kilborn seemed to have some relationship with Jonathan Silverman.
Okay.
They seemed to be friends.
Okay.
So he was in the single guy orbit.
Yep,
Sure.
yep,
And therefore he was always...
We're just staying right in 1995. We're just never leaving.
Yes, that's right.
So he was part of the SGU.
He was Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, where you got Ming Na. You got Ernest Borgnine.
So they weren't made fun
You
of
got
by
Slotnick.
Kilborn.
Yeah,
but he
okay.
was deep into the single guy somehow.
Yeah.
And Slotnick was always the butt of some running joke on Kilborn that I can neither remember nor find online.
Amazing.
I cannot remember it nor find it.
Oh, I see. So you remember this happening,
So
but
for
you
the
don't have evidence
month
of it.
leading up to the release of Hollow Man, Kilborn was always talking about Slotnick, and Slotnick must have been on 5 or 6 times. He would pop into the beginning. He would be a cutaway.
So you were watching Kilborn every night?
Every night, which is another reason I knew this movie came out in the summer. Because I was watching Kilborn every night.
So this is
This is
Kilborn
incredible.
post Daily Show, or is
This is late
this
night
is
after
when
Letterman.
he's late night.
I could watch
Okay.
Letterman, then watch
Because he
Kilborn.
gets late night
Yeah.
99, I
Right.
think. So
But
this is early Kilborn.
And
late
the way he
night.
wants to make his mark on late night is by having some running gag with Slotnick that I barely remember, but remember so vividly as happening. So when I had the opportunity to, because I was not invited to be here, I asked to be here.
Yeah.
It was because I need to just see if anyone else remembers how or why
Slotnick.
Kilborn was always talking about Joey Slotnick, to the extent that when I saw this movie with my friends,
Right.
and when he came on, I said, "There's Joey Slotnick," thinking that this would be funny.
Yeah.
I thought everyone knew that
They were in on the joke.
The words Joey Slotnick could get a laugh.
He was like snakes on a plane.
Yes, truly. And I can't remember what this was or why, but someone else has to be able to. There's no proof. I Googled it for a little bit.
Yeah, you like tried
Couldn't
to
find anything. There's no clips of like, 10-minute compilation of Kilborn Slotnick.
You know, one problem I think that you have is that I think CBS has just erased Craig Kilborn from the internet.
Yes.
Like, they just don't want to acknowledge that ever happened.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing that I know connects this is that I believe also summer 2000, maybe 2001, when Jon Favreau's Maid came out.
Sure. His directorial debut.
Jonathan Silverman is in that movie very briefly.
Okay.
And that was also a big running Kilborn thing. He kept, every time Favreau or Vince Vaughn would be on the show, he'd be like, most important question, why is Jonathan Silverman only in one scene of the movie?
Oh my God.
So this is my real reason for being here today. It's not that Paul Verhoeven's one of my favorite filmmakers.
Yeah.
And I wanted to re-examine his most unheralded film.
You've been waiting. You've had like an alert for when we're going to cover a Slotnick.
Yeah. And I just, no, but there's something about this that I can't remember. Because then he's just like science dork number 3.
Yeah.
Like he's just the nerd who wears
right.
sweater vests with a tie.
Do you think?
Yeah, he has no role in this movie. It's almost insulting.
It's unbelievable how many,
movie.
before I remembered that this
how does
movie
he even
becomes,
die?
he just gets killed like everyone else.
He just gets like stabbed
He
with
gets
a crowbar
stabbed through the chest.
Yeah.
Right?
Before I remembered that this movie just becomes like a slasher,
Yeah.
I was like, why are there so many people in this
Yeah.
There's
movie?
a lot of people in it.
Like, what is there? Because there's him. So now, okay, so my Slotnick thing is planted. I've let that out there.
Right. So anyone who wants to get at Alex Ross Perry about Joey Slotnick and Craig Kilborn's relationship,
Just somewhere I'll look at your Reddit and I'll try to figure out if anyone else is like, I watched Kilborn and I actually remember what you're
What's your
talking
home
about.
mailing address? Can I send you a letter?
yeah. And what's your annual salary?
Do you want my theory? I got a theory, and I don't remember this bit. Right? I was not a
You were too
Kilborner.
young for you weren't a Kilborn.
Although
You're not Kilborn again?
No, I would sneak, like, stay awake and watch Conan on my little, like, rabbit ear TV. I never dipped in the Kilborn. But my bet is that those were, like, his drinking buddies. That his, like, pussy posse, if I may, at the time, was, like, Silverman, Slotnick, like, some weird group of, like, NBC, like, primetime, like, hammocked in between
what
friends.
A depressing. Yeah.
And Mad About You, sitcom guys.
When they would, like, try and launch, like, Union Square out of Friends, right? Like that run of failed sitcoms.
Right, and it was like an inside
Veronica's
joke
Closet
that he tried to make happen with the American public about him.
Worked for me.
Yeah. Look, and
made
here's the
me
thing.
super aware of Hollow Man and made me 17 years later, be like, there was something about Slotnick.
It's like a splinter in your mind. You can't like.
And I looked him up.
If it works for even one person, then it was worth it.
And Slotnick's Wikipedia page is really depressing.
Is it?
I mean, not that there's any. It just looks like it just has very little effort put
his
into it.
profile picture is him shaking hands with Steve Wozniak, who he looks nothing like.
And
yet played in Pirates of Silicon Valley.
I feel like his page, it doesn't
look
have.
At this, this sort of bizarre tableau.
It doesn't have links to the movies. It's just a list of movies.
Yeah. Well, then it becomes just because it's some movies like Twister, Pirates of Silicon, right? And then it's just TV shows.
Mm-hmm.
It's like Alias, CSI, Boston Legal.
Twister, by the way, is another cool scientist movie.
That's true. Yeah. These scientists, they drive cars and
They're
stuff.
kind of fun, normal, down to earth people. Another Apollo 13 turned lead in a cool scientist movie.
Very
cast
true.
member.
That's right. Every because Gary Sinise got something too out of this, right? Like he had to have something. Come on, help me out here.
Well, he was in Reindeer Games, not a cool scientist, but
he's not, maybe,
whatchamacallit, Snake Eyes.
He doesn't really scream scientist. He screams more, authority figure.
Yeah, he's your Fed. Yeah, I mean, Snake Eyes, he's the villain.
So did the cool hacker replace the cool scientists, right?
I guess so.
I feel like that becomes the next trope
cool
where he's
tech.
like, I'm a cool tech guy.
Right.
It's like the Blade guy.
Because then it becomes your scientists are the nerds again. And then there's this guy who's got kind of like frosted tips or something. And he's got like a mug full of pistachio nuts or something.
Wait, is it Greg Grunberg who's always drinking a big gulp in this movie?
Yes, he is.
So that's like his kind, and he always has headphones around his neck. And he's looking at porn. He's looking at Perfect 10 magazine.
Porn and like has like a whole monologue.
He's sitting there
about
muttering.
I'd suck the nipples off those.
That's what he
tits or
says.
something. And you're like, no one's ever said that.
That feels like someone being like, Verhoeven movies are gross and lurid, and people talk about sex.
Well,
so we're going to have this character talk about nipples while he's looking at this Perfect 10 at his job in a bunker where there's only like 6 people who have the access code.
Right. Andrew W. Marlowe is the writer of this movie.
I'm sorry. I found confirmation on something I need to share. Joey Slotnick in 2009 did a stage production.
Oh no. This is already bad.
I don't like this.
At the Williamstown Theater Festival.
Oh, that's nice. That's fun.
Okay. That's cool. Yeah.
Or no, I'm sorry. That was several years into making this happen. It started at Chicago.
Okay.
Of Animal Crackers. The Marx Brothers movie, which they tried to turn into a musical, I think in the hopes of going to Broadway, and Joey Slotnick played Groucho Marx. He spent most of the last 7 years touring around trying to become the stage version of Groucho Marx.
His Kilmer Twain. Oh yeah,
look at that. No, flip your phone back around.
Interesting. There he is. There he is with the glasses and the mustache.
Yeah, he's trying to make Groucho happen.
Well, there's something about Slotnick.
There's definitely something about
that connects this movie to a certain time in my life where I was very happy. Big summer, my friend got his driver's license. We saw a lot of movies. Mission Impossible 2 had just come out.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Other things that hopefully we'll be talking about eventually. But I feel like the kind of crew of scientists in this movie is very humorously diverse in their each one has a thing.
In their types.
Can I say one funny thing also?
Of course.
One thing about...
Say anything, Alex.
This is something that I was thinking about constantly during this movie. Is at one point I asked Jason Schwartzman, why have you never been in a big Hollywood movie like this?
Sure. Yeah.
Not like this, but something.
You told me this.
I told you this?
Yeah.
No, tell me. I want to know.
I said, why have you
You've
never...
worked with Jason on multiple movies. Yeah.
Not to name drop, but...
Hey, drop
in Golden Eggs, it's now playing at Metrograph and on iTunes and whatever.
Yeah.
I said, how come you never been in that kind of a movie? And he said, because everything I ever get sent to be in that movie is the guy who says, but gentlemen, what if we weaponize it? And I thought, that is the kind of guy you would get asked to play in that movie.
Right.
And this movie doesn't really have that exact
really
guy. But I can easily picture someone being like, who could be dorky scientist number 3?
Right.
Jason Schwartzman would be so good for that.
Who gets impaled on rebar?
I was
40 minutes to go.
You told me that story as a lesson, not in a teaching way, but I was complaining to you about not wanting to play parts like that.
Right.
And you were like, that's what Jason's always talking to me about, where he doesn't have any interest in showing up to be in a big movie to say, what if we weaponize it?
Go to Vancouver for 4 months to say that line.
Right. If I want to do it, I want to have something to actually do.
Right. So I feel like that's a good reason for him to have avoided this kind of being in the crew of scientists.
Yes.
Which is generally a good crew. I mean, they look good together. Bacon, also, we didn't talk about his house with his thing on the ceiling.
Oh, yeah.
Wait, what thing on the ceiling?
You should be working or whatever.
Oh, yeah, right.
It's similar to the Mulder pencils. It's a real hot trend at this time of guys who sit at their desk and have crap on the ceiling above their desk.
They also have this video call, which is so advanced, it makes no sense.
Yeah.
When he calls them
it's
with
Hyper Skype.
Yeah,
And it looks good. It works. It works
really
well. The point isn't like how, I guess in the world of having invisible serum, Skype had been taken care of.
I guess this is set in the near future. So to start the plot, as Ben was bugging me to do, hey Ben,
we're an hour in.
Yeah, I think that's great.
But
I mean, this
feel
movie
like
has no plot.
In the hour, there's not. It's all on the topic of Halloween.
The beginning of the beginning
for
of the
us
movie,
to get into
they're
it.
waiting. The beginning of the movie is he discovers invisibility or whatever. He like puts the right genes in the
He's
right
on his
place.
computer.
I mean, the right molecules
He's looking
in the right
out
places.
his window. He's peeping at Rona Mitra, and he's angry that she closed the blinds. How
Yeah, he
dare
doesn't
she
like that. Yeah, sure.
have autonomy.
He cracks the He cracks the code.
You know what else he's doing? He's eating a Twinkie.
He's eating a Twinkie.
He's eating a Twinkie.
Is that his blender?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
He does it like 4 more
Junk
times.
food.
There's
yeah.
a box of Twinkies next to his desk.
Yeah.
And like
later, not at home at the lab, he has a whole case of Twinkies.
Right. He should not be the sort of. He's very sort of fit.
He's sinewy in this movie.
He's sinewy. He's a sinewy guy. He always has been.
Yeah.
So Hollow Man. Yeah. So they cracked the case. What have they been doing before now? Just not making things invisible? Is that what's been happening
they've
down
been
there?
making animals invisible. The thing they haven't
made
figured
like
out,
little animals invisible.
They got the
Because
gorilla.
well, no, that's the first thing. Like that's the first time they do it.
Incorrect.
Because they have the rat.
The gorilla is already invisible.
Right.
They
and
can't
now
figure
they
out how
make
to
it
make it
uninvisible.
That's
right,
the thing they've been
You're
struggling.
You're right.
They've been making animals invisible, but their goal is they want to weaponize it. They want to give it to the military.
Yeah, this is like a government contract or whatever.
Right.
It's like the rebigulator, debigulator.
Right. But their Waterloo is how do you get them back? Because you can't leave people invisible forever. They'll go crazy and grab boobs.
Anyone playing Blank Check Bingo, he just said Waterloo.
Yeah, thank you. Patina.
Rosetta Stone.
But I have 4 phrases.
Yep.
Yes, he suddenly just kind of cracks it. The movie doesn't really
Who
explain
cares?
why. Right.
It's just you see the like wireframe of molecules, and he's like, "Oh, but what if I put a
Flip
freaking
it.
electron over
Right.
here?" I don't know. Who
and then
cares?
he calls up Elizabeth Shue.
Yeah.
Very excitedly.
Yeah.
He sees in the background that there's a guy in her bed.
Sure.
Who's that?
Who's that? None of your
Pulls
business.
the covers over his head. He's flirting with her, but he's excited because he just fucking figured it out. We got to get to the office. Do you think you can get in touch with Josh Brolin? Yeah, I think I can reach him. Ha 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 ha. End the
'Cause
video
she's sleeping
call.
with him,
She's sleeping with Josh Brolin. Okay, so there's a
Who plays
secret.
Dr. Matt Kensington, who is literally, that name is straight out of like a porn parody.
Isn't it fascinating that, like,
As is Sebastian Holloman.
Sebastian Kane. Sebastian Holloman.
That's why whenever I was watching the movie, I just kept calling him Sebastian Holloman.
Mr. Holloman. And then someone like puts a space in between the two. Anyway, yeah.
It just feels you watch this movie and like the zone that Brolin was in and continued to be in for like another 6 years after this until 2007 when he has this crazy year. Yeah. And it's like he was just going to go from being this kind of like fucking wet blanket guy in like mid-budget, mid-level studio blockbusters to then being like the boss in comedies and then the dad in movies. Like he did not seem like someone who was primed to suddenly become a like substantial American actor.
That didn't seem like a shame either. It wasn't like, that guy could have been.
That's like a totally
you're not
solid
mad
guy.
that we're not getting to see
Josh
him.
Brolin's a pro, He doesn't seem like he deserves a bigger shot than this. He just shows up and he does his part. And then 2007, he suddenly becomes this like very interesting actor out of nowhere.
Blows off of the character actor list.
To me, he was the Goonies guy, right? I mean, there was nothing in between.
Thrashing. That's what he was to me.
Right.
Thrashing.
But then he's good in Flirting with Disaster. As the super aggro
yes, he's funny
brother.
in that. Yes.
But then he does
he's
like
in Mimic.
this. He's in Mimic. He does a fucking, what's it called? Into the Blue, the Paul Walker, Jessica Alba movies.
That's 2005. That's much later.
Whoa, that movie from 2005?
Yeah, so here we go. Just
That's
check this
mind-blowing.
out. And I mean, you know about his legal issues,
Yes.
to be kind,
Yes.
which we probably shouldn't be, because it's from 2000 Hollow Man, right?
Yeah.
2005 Melinda. There's nothing in between.
Uh-huh.
So he just stopped making things, and in
This
between,
was it for him?
Yeah, in between those two is when he's Diane Lane calls the cops on him, and
Right.
then it like drops the charges, and like it just becomes this sort of thing that was like in the papers,
And they're
but
still
never
together
pursued.
now,
No,
right?
they got
No,
divorced.
they did get divorced. They got
But
back together
much-
for a while after.
Much
right.
later. They got divorced in like 2013 or something. So
and the
way
other
later.
thing with her was Diane Lane was going through this real like upswing, and it became like, oh, that's weird that Diane Lane's married to the guy from Goonies. Like,
Yeah, right,
He
right.
just
Guy from
became like
Thrashin'.
a professional
Guy
plus
from
one
Thrashin'.
because she was like getting nominated for Unfaithful and stuff, and he was just like sitting next to her at the Oscars every year.
And like he also like as of this like he wouldn't have been on talk shows. He wasn't promoted. He was not promotable.
0%.
He's like one notch above your Greg Grunberg.
Here's where
is it Grunberg or Gundberg?
Grunberg.
It's Grunberg.
Snap Wexley himself.
That's right. I mean, Grunberg was just J.J. Abrams' guy, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
This was Josh Brolin's role in Hollywood at this point in time.
Yeah.
Was if you got Robert Downey Jr. and Robert Downey Jr.'s quote was a little bit lower than Kevin Bacon, you could get a bigger star for the Josh Brolin role.
No,
but if you spent the extra $1 million or $2 million on Bacon, it's like Brolin we can get for like $250,000. He's a pro. He'll show up. He'll do the job.
Less than that.
You know what I'm saying? Like he was that guy where it's like we can slot him in. If we got a bigger star for another role, just get Brolin to fill out the cast.
So Brolin, okay, fine. So
they're
they're
the three.
sleeping
They're the three scientists.
They're the three scientists.
Yeah, we're Brolin in the.
We're the two friends. They're the three scientists.
Yeah.
And I forgot to mention Mary Randall, who plays another lab tech. That's the entire crew.
Correct.
And then William Devane plays like a congressman or whatever.
And then
He's
also
like a general, right?
Whatever.
He's at the Pentagon.
Yeah. He's at the Pentagon. You're right. This is one of the only movies that's shot in front of the Pentagon for some reason. Like the Pentagon allowed
Big
for just like
fans.
one Steadicam shot as they leave and give Bacon the business for lying to the government.
And he's like, I can do what I want.
And you know what's
Bacon
impressive?
does some serious movie star strutting in that
strutting,
shot.
but you know what's also interesting is that he's wearing the Regis Philbin Who Wants to Be a Millionaire collection in that scene. It's like the shiniest purple shirt and exactly the same color tie I've ever seen outside of Regis.
Correct.
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. And not only is he dressed that way in the Pentagon, then the next scene he has his jacket off and he's still wearing the purple shirt and tie.
Yes, it's insane. So he cracks the code. Shu comes over. There's this
Shu comes over.
Yeah.
You mean from the funnies, the bird?
The movie puts on a shoe.
Yeah.
Elizabeth Shue.
Yeah.
No, but there's this thing where you see Josh Brolin in the trenches with the animals, who Kim Dickens is very protective of.
Yeah.
He's got his weird heat vision goggles because that's the only way they can see the invisible creatures.
Yeah, those goggles are some 2000 tech right there.
They're very Verhoeven.
Oh my God. It's so good.
Those are also just like post Jurassic Park. Like it's still the same thing.
It's the same aesthetic.
Have you seen Wolfen? Do you like Wolfen, Ben?
I've never seen Wolfen.
Never seen Wolfen? You like Wolfen?
No.
What's
Wolfen? No.
Wolfen, it's
I've heard of Wolfen.
It's a werewolf movie with
yes.
Albert Finney.
And Gregory Hines.
What?
And it's like the first Steadicam movie that Steadicam was invented for. It's like 83,
I would fucking love this movie.
81.
And all the wolf POV stuff is night vision infrared Steadicam.
Oh, that's
and it's just this low to the ground, endless. And at the time, no Steadicam, you have no idea how they're doing this shot.
Yeah,
even still, the movie's incredible. But all this stuff looks like Wolfen when they're looking at the animals.
I do
Albert
love
Finney and them. You can't understand a word he's saying. He seems so drunk.
That sounds great. I love it when Albert Finney. Oh my God! Like when he shows up at the end of Ocean's 12.
Yeah,
and he clearly is just drunk, and they bow fingered him. Anyway,
it's a very good movie, pre-Dark Universe of the 90s, pre-Wolf.
So I was shocked to realize this movie's 2 hours long because it barely has a plot. But I think it's because every injection scene is like incredibly long and drawn
It's a real
out.
showcase.
And which in a way that I like, right? Because it's fun with the first gorilla,
right?
Where you see the gorilla's body like slowly rebuild.
And let's say there's a little tip of the cap when Brolin's trying to feed the gorilla that it attacks him, and then they have this little like dick measuring contest of trying to capture and sedate the gorilla first. But it kind of gets at this thing that perhaps there are the unexpected side effects of rage,
like aggression.
Aggression makes you monstrous. All the other animals in the movie were real animals, and the gorilla was a person in a gorilla suit.
Very clearly.
Yes,
it's not a realistic looking
So
gorilla.
according to the IMDb trivia, what they had to do for the gorilla in order to get it, because they used real heat vision cameras, they got some camera where they filmed it that's not like a processed thing. So for the gorilla shots, right up until they called action, they had like 20 PAs with hair dryers who were just heating up the gorilla suit so that it would show up on the camera.
Yeah. Do you think like
just having fun looking at
yes or no of the invisibility sequences? Does this movie have good special effects or bad special effects? Just yes or no?
I think yes.
I think it has good special effects.
Yes. I think the only thing this movie...
You can see the seams more than I remember, but I don't really care.
I think the only thing that feels notably creepy to me is the Visible Man stuff. When it's him with the muscles.
Sure.
That looks pretty flubbery.
I just dig it.
I just think
the rest of it I think is really good.
This is such an era of some of the worst CG.
Yes.
This is like the Scorpion King shot that everyone always...
Yes.
And I just can't believe how not terrible this looks, considering it's the same time as most of the worst computer effects of.
And the other thing was he talked about how he's a very extensive storyboarder. You know, there's a real intentionality in design.
Yeah, he said this entire movie was storyboarded,
yeah.
like to the T.
Verhoeven is a guy who plans everything out meticulously in advance and understands the limitations of the technology and how to work around them, but also how to push them. And he said that he worked really hard to have as many camera movements as he could in the special effects big showcase scenes, because he wanted to integrate it more, that the mind processes it as being real if in a shot with a CGI skeleton man you also have, you know, a tracking move or whatever it is, which I think is really smart, but also makes his job a lot more complicated. But he committed to that and said, like, I had to know every shot in advance because if I changed a shot on the day, it would add $300,000.
Right.
So we shot everything exactly the way I storyboarded it. But I think especially when you look at that, like, the effects are really fucking good. And certainly, like, it's simple, but when he has the rubber mask and you can see through the back of it, it's the fucking best thing ever.
It's also like all the effects make sense. They're not pointless. But you're right. All those sequences are long.
Yes,
and then
incredibly long.
But then he's just invisible. Then Bacon's just invisible.
Right.
Well, this is the thing. So, yeah, how much Bacon do you think we got? Like 15, 20 minutes? Something
I think like 30. Because you have the gorilla, you have him testifying.
Maybe 30.
You have a lot of him flirting
and
with everyone in the office being gross.
Yeah, he's gross
he
to
tries
everyone.
To fuck Slotnick.
I'd be into that.
Everyone knows he's a bad guy.
Everyone knows.
Everyone's like, I wouldn't want to whatever with him, or like,
no, he's an asshole.
Everyone knows that he's just kind of an eccentric jackass.
Shu has that line about like
a toxic person.
Yeah, being with him is a lot less interesting than you think it is.
Right. And then he turns invisible because he decides, fuck them, we're just going to do this on me.
He wants to hold it back from the military because he's worried they'll take it away from him. So he goes, we need to get this 100% cracked by ourselves before we hand it over.
They'll shut it all down. Not that they'll be like this, because it is theirs.
Yes.
But he says that, you know, what'll they do with us once they have it?
Right.
So let's make me the guinea pig, which everyone is skittish about. This is the best sequence of the movie, probably.
Him turning invisible?
Yeah.
It's just phenomenal.
Yeah.
It held up for me.
Yeah.
I feel like, what's the name of that like tiny horizontal special effects magazine that they still published? Cinefex?
Yes.
I feel like this was on the cover of that. It was a still from this exact
This movie lost best visual effects to Gladiator. And I remember at the time, the pitch on Gladiator was like, you won't believe it. Like, they made ancient Rome like look real again. And now you watch Gladiator and the visual effects in that are a little rough.
Well, you know, the other thing with Gladiator that I think got it the win.
What?
Was the Oliver Reed
thing, which is actually kind of impressive.
But at the time it was so unprecedented.
As impressive as making Bacon invisible?
0%.
I don't think so. I mean, this should have won. But I did forget because like I was reading an interview recently with Ridley Scott, now long ago, about All the Money in the World, where he was like, this is fucking, you know, Disney shit. I don't give a shit. Christopher Plummer, he's here. He's alive.
Yeah.
Oliver Reed died.
Right.
Like 3 days in or whatever. You know, like I had to build an entire performance out of nothing.
Yeah.
And Christopher Plummer, he's like, this is easy.
Yeah. Imagine what Ridley could have done with an Invisible Man movie.
Oh, he'd have fun.
He's available for Dark Universe.
Yeah.
Sure.
He can slot it in. I think
give him the whole Dark Universe.
Yeah, he's only booked 5 movies to direct next year, so we could probably slot one of them in there. By the time we're recording this, Christopher Plummer has probably won the Oscar, right?
For
Best Picture?
That Golden Globe nomination, where you just know that they didn't screen the movie. They just they just threw a party for the Hollywood Foreign Press. Ridley Scott comes out and he's like, "You won't believe it, Christopher Plummer, J. Paul Getty. It's great. Anyway, nice to see all of you." And they're like, "Oh yes, we give him a vote."
Director, actress, supporting actor.
God. That he got a director nomination and not a picture nomination is so funny to me.
With 10 nominees.
I know. It's
insane.
Are you excited for All the Money in the World, Alex?
No, I'm not. I'll watch if I get a script. By the time this comes out, I will have not seen it. Unless I got sent to my house.
I'm so pumped to see it.
I mean, I guess I'm mildly curious.
I'm like not curious, and I love Ridley Scott, except for the.
I mean, I like a kidnapping movie. I like a good kidnapping movie.
Yeah, that's why
Me too.
The first trailer was like a lot tonier, and then the re-edited Christopher Plummer trailer now has an instrumental version of Kanye West Power and makes it look like a CIA thriller.
Yeah.
I'll see. Wait, it's Michelle Williams
and
Mark
Wahlberg.
Wahlberg.
I'll see it. I like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's you know, this, whatever. I'm sure it's fine. I'm sure it's not as impressive as making that rubber mask.
It's one Best Picture at this point.
But I do.
Hollow Man has?
Hollow Man won Best Picture in 2018.
Hollow Man should have won Best Visual Effects
100%
for this sequence alone. But also, I think what I really love are all the like silhouetted Bacon stuff later, like the pool and the
it
mist.
just seems like I feel like by this point in the movie, now we're like halfway through the movie.
Yeah,
right? Like,
practically.
pretty much.
he's invisible and he's squeezed her breasts.
He's invisible and he like has a sandwich and then he decides to grab Kim Dickens.
And then they're basically-
right. It's like really immediate.
Then right away they're like, good, now it's been 3 days, let's reverse him, and it doesn't work. But I feel like this gets to the point of like, we love Invisible Man. Like, this is a cool idea.
Yeah.
Right.
There's no story in that because it's like, what do you? This movie to me was like, there's nothing you can do with that. He's invisible.
Yes, this movie is just interested in the power trip element of it.
What's your?
You
pitch?
need another Invisible Man.
Invisible Man.
Oh, sure.
Well, that was-
Invisible
Right,
Man,
that's the
Invisible Man
problem.
and Woman.
You
There's-
need two invisible people.
There's Hollow Man 2, the direct-to-video sequel, which was briefly titled Hollow Men. I
starring
believe it was that
starring
idea.
Peter Facinelli and Christian Slater.
Yes.
I just feel like at this point in the movie, like he's invisible and he's freaking out, and it's obviously affecting his brain. But then, like this just points out that there's really nothing you can do with an invisible man,
right?
Unless he joins the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, as I teased to you in my email.
God,
but he's like a Hulk. Like he works well as like part of a team, but he has no actual journey of his own that's like going to sustain this.
Well,
which is why it just becomes like the killers inside the house.
That's what's weird about this movie and why it sort of makes sense that Elizabeth Shue is first billed, aside from the fact that she also signed on first. And I think there's a thing where
she might have gotten paid more.
She might have gotten paid more. Yeah. And if you sign on to a movie first, sometimes you work that into your contract where even if they get a bigger star, they're kind of fucked because we already promised someone first billing.
Yeah,
you know? Yeah. But I think this movie only kind of makes her the protagonist halfway through. The first half of the movie, they make Kevin Bacon the really unlikable protagonist, you know? The anti-hero. And then there's a point where it's like, well, now he just has to become the villain because we can't, you know, follow this guy in his journey anymore. There's nowhere else to go. He's just become a monster.
He sneaks out and like,
he's a
immediately
monster
rapes his
right
neighbor.
away.
He's a monster right away.
Second thought is, you're right that, of course, at first he is confronted with the news, we can't turn you visible. So I guess that's eating away at him.
Yeah.
Then they put the latex mask on him.
His eyelids are transparent. The light hurts him so much.
I say that a couple times.
Yeah.
You know what's another thing similar to how Grunberg is holding up the Perfect 10 magazine and saying what he wants to do to the woman?
Right.
Is the part early when Sebastian's looking out the window at his neighbor who takes off her clothes and she closes her blinds and he goes, damn it.
Yeah.
Like he's
a jerk.
He's on the line that he wants to see that. So you know he's getting it. You know right away.
He sucks from the get-go, which I like. And this movie is, I mean, it's the line where it's like what you would do if you didn't have to look at yourself in the mirror, you know?
I feel like that for him, he splashes his face in the mirror, which is very interesting.
Yeah.
I have written down.
That's in the trailer.
It's at 56 minutes.
Yeah.
Which is like the first time where he says, like, what am I doing?
Right.
He's like, it's like suddenly this guy realizes he's up to no good.
Because that's after he attacks Rona Mitra, right?
Yeah, it's got to be.
Yeah.
I also wrote down what would happen if he ate a not invisible Twinkie.
Well, why don't they ever do that?
Yeah.
Why he never eats when he's invisible.
Because it would be so much fun to watch the
it would be
digestion.
such a silly effect.
Exactly. Like, do we see him like pee? Like, no. Like
throws up.
He does throw up, and the throw up's invisible.
Right.
You see it make the imprint in the toilet water, but there's nothing actually coming out. You see like the ripples.
Interesting.
You know why he's perfect casting for this movie, aside from everything else we've already said?
Yeah.
He is such a specific looking guy.
He is.
That even when you only see his body, he's got such a specific body, right? And he's shown it off so much in movies that you like recognize it. But B, his face is so fucking unique that even if it's just like water being splashed on the side, you're like, that's Kevin Bacon's nose.
And he has a great voice.
Mouth.
He has a really distinct voice.
All of it.
Nothing sounds like Kevin Bacon.
But if you have the character just in silhouette affected by smoke or whatever, it doesn't look like just some generic CGI model. It always looks like Kevin Bacon. It's
Seems
recognizably Kevin Bacon.
The point of the second half of this movie is how many things can you put an invisible man in that you can sort of see?
Right.
A pool, a smoky corridor,
fire extinguisher,
mist, smoke from a... It's just how many things can you sort of see something through?
So when they were filming this movie, they thought originally that he wasn't going to have to be on set.
They would just have like a teacup on a string.
Right.
Be like,
right. And then Verhoeven did a lot of test footage, and he realized that the performances were kind of unmoored when there wasn't a person there in the room, right? Yeah. So they would shoot everything 2 times, once with him in there, once with him without, for performance.
Right.
But also, anytime he's interacting with the elements, they needed him there in real time on the set.
Yes.
So they would have to paint his entire body one color.
Yes, green, blue, or black.
Right. Including contact lenses that were fully that color, face paint, all of that.
He also says that the latex mask smelled like rotten eggs, and he had to wear it a lot.
And it has no nose holes. Did that bother you guys?
I'm sure it bothers
It's so
me.
distinct. And later when he goes out, he cuts nose holes in it.
Yeah.
They appear at like the hour 40
Which was
mark.
probably a demand for him, because they mostly shot this movie chronologically.
They shot this movie in sequence.
Yes.
But there's so much of it with there's no nose holes for almost
He probably
the
at a certain point was like, I'm quitting unless you cut those fucking nose holes in. But each of the colors they painted him corresponded to a different element, where they had to come up with a code where it's like, if he's interacting with liquids, he's black for the day.
Right.
If he's interacting with gases, he's,
Maybe the nose holes weren't there because you couldn't put the color inside his
very
nostrils.
possible.
But they do show up, as you say.
Yeah.
Like in he looks.
Maybe they just put a little dab of blue on
He looks like Michael
on the-
Myers-y.
Yes.
Right? Like when he's got. I just think that's such a good look, the latex mask.
It is
It's
the
great.
perfect modern version of the bandages and the glasses and
100%.
the
Yes, exactly.
And I love how goopy it is in the back. Anytime you're seeing him from behind, it's
It looks
really
great, yeah.
imperfect.
It's so gross.
And he does have such a weird face. He's got that Kevin Bacon nose, so it is distinctive. It doesn't just look like a generic
no, it looks
dude.
like Kevin
Right.
Bacon's face.
Pouring that stuff on it, that's so cool looking. When they
Amazing.
pour the rubber
All
on.
that stuff is great. And even just like it's simple effects, but just when they're testing him after the failed conversion back into the land of being a solid man rather than a hollow man. And it's all the little, what do you call them?
Like the little heart rate monitor.
The heart rate
thing.
monitors
They
things
snap
on
off.
him. When you see them all snapping off as he walks away, like that shit is all just really fucking effective for me.
It's
Right.
fun. I wrote down around this time when Greg Rumber's looking at the magazine, he started to remind me of Ken Marino in Wet Hot American Summer. He's just like some doofus who's talking about babes.
Right, who's never
Yeah.
seen a woman naked
Yeah,
in his
and
The
then-
secret subplot of this movie is that he's a virgin.
Right,
Yes.
yeah.
And then he's talking to Kevin Bacon. I wrote down that he says, you should be out there messing with people.
Yeah,
That's his first.
Yeah.
He says this, and this is after Kevin Bacon has attacked Rona Mitra,
Yeah.
just to get it on the record. I don't know if she has a line in the movie apart from like
No.
hello and like is not a character,
Screaming.
and we do not revisit her after he attacks.
There's a deleted scene
Oh,
Yeah.
is there?
There's an extended
of
boy.
Yeah.
the actual after effect of a woman being sexually violated
By
by
an
a hollow
invisible
man.
person.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's just like it's like a quick shot of her like curled up in the fetal position,
Right.
crying on the bed, which
Yeah.
is kind of Verhoeven-y in a way.
He said
It's like deeply amoral and strange.
Yes.
They test screened it and people like ripped their chairs out of
Yeah,
the theater.
yeah,
Like
he-
no one wanted to see that.
Right, which I mean, sure, but also you did put that in 45 minutes
Yes.
into the movie, Paulie.
Yeah.
And again, I mean, like I was going to say, this movie was written by Andrew W. Marlowe, who just seems like to me like
Andrew W.M.
AWM, just the epitome of like a broy douchey guy in the room,
Right.
because his credits are Air Force One.
Uh-huh.
What if? All right, The President. Yeah. And then End of Days,
Yeah.
which is a terrible movie. And then Hollow Man. And then he created Castle.
Right.
So this guy has more money than you'll ever see in
Yes.
your life.
He literally just does things that I couldn't even imagine doing with
But-
his incredible amounts of money.
Such
He
as
has like a
writing Hollow Man.
Spitfire.
Yeah.
But Gary Scott Thompson was the what if guy on this, right? He was the original idea,
Yes.
and then Marlowe sort of
Correct.
Took off of his
they
outline.
both have a story
Yeah.
credit. Gary
Yeah.
Scott Thompson, I mean,
created the Fast and Furious franchise.
yeah, this is basically his earliest like pitch that
Yeah.
hits, apart from K911,
Uh-huh.
which I believe
The
is
Belushi?
a sequel to K9.
Right.
But remember that
Belushi.
there's K9.
Yes.
That came out in 1989.
Yeah.
Then in 1999, finally,
Right.
the public's demand for a sequel was satisfied with K911,
Uh-huh.
which was then followed by K9 colon
Team the
PI.
Widowmaker.
Not K9112. Because that's just a zip code. That's,
Yeah.
that's not a movie title.
To be
anymore.
clear, Jim Belushi is in all three films.
Yeah.
Like
Well, he's
it's
a
not.
pro.
Yeah.
Yeah, they signed him to a 3-picture deal from the get-go.
This movie has like real Hollywood, like workhorse writer pedigree on
Yes,
it.
that's what I'm saying. Like, I really don't think that Verhoeven was the one who came in and was like, "Yeah, the Invisible
No,
Man
no.
must be a rapist." Like, it's like
No.
this was a pitch that was made.
I think he
for $100
turned
million.
all that
Yeah,
out.
some
That was
ideas,
already
probably.
I'm
the-
sure he did. Yeah.
Do you feel like there was like that? He was kind of like those Nordics in Hollywood. There was a lot of them, and they all kind of had their own excesses that they were
Yeah.
fascinated with.
Wait, who else are you thinking?
Well, like Jan de Bont and
Yep.
Rennie Harlan,
right,
and
right.
there's got to be at least one or two
Yeah.
others, but like a lot of these Danes and Nords and,
Well-
Swedes coming to Hollywood and kind of making these like excessively well crafted. Wolfgang Peterson,
Wolfgang
not-
Peterson,
obviously not Nordic, but
Yeah.
European.
Same. Yeah.
But he, like, I mean, I don't think Verhoeven's capable of making a film as uninteresting as the least interesting movies that those guys made.
Right.
He just has too much going on. But he also sort of at this point said, "Oh, I think I'm starting to tip into that territory. I need to get the fuck away."
Yeah,
from
he
here."
He runs away, whereas Rennie
Right.
Harlan's like, no, I can make the Exorcist prequel, or whatever,
Right.
like-
There's like a weird level of self-awareness for Verhoeven, considering that he's also like a weird like lunatic who's like, what am I doing? Why is it weird? You know?
Sure.
And he's a Jesus scholar in the seminarian.
Right.
It's right. So there is some sort of moment of self-awareness. Yeah, not much Jesus stuff in this one.
That's the thing. Like, this movie just has no allegory. Like, RoboCop allegory,
Right.
Total Recall, like a very metaphysical look at like humanity and what your brain is.
Yeah.
Showgirls,
Of course,
it's about so much.
Right.
This
Yeah.
movie's just not about anything. It's
It's just except if you were an invisible man, you would be awful.
Isn't it sort of like power corrupts like a
Yeah,
little?
right, yeah.
It has one idea.
But I also think it's not presenting that movie as a thesis.
Right.
And then it
It's
just
one
turns
of the
into a
ideas to
slasher
think about.
movie.
And I once again, like, I think endings of movies are very important because the ending is like, this is what it was about. Not just what note you end on, but like putting a frame around a thing. And the fact that this movie just stops.
No, it's just they kill him in the lab. They blow up the lab.
Right. It's like, oh, this movie has nothing to say.
They don't even blow up the lab in a fun way. I was really looking
elevator
forward.
shaft.
Yeah.
Go to
Not-
hell.
it's
and
weird,
then
like,
credits.
like to even like jump from the point where he's like not going to be turned visible again.
Yeah.
Right.
To the end of the movie is like, I don't remember. The only thing I remember there is the blood all over the floor and the amount of blood in the Kim Dickens
So much
Yeah,
blood.
but they're really
which
clever
is cool.
sequences.
And the Willem Devane
yeah.
pull, like each kill is kind of neat.
Right.
Yeah, that's the thing. So yeah, let's just go through the kills.
But they're also stacked up. Like, it's the moment where you realize, oh, that's why there are that many people in the lab. This has become a slasher film where they're knocking them off one by one. It's like 4 of them die within 8 minutes of each other.
Right. So here's how it goes.
A more conventional movie would have had him turn bad 15 minutes in and made the whole movie.
Because I want to get Alex out of here in some semblance of a normal.
I know.
Don't worry about me.
I know. But I do.
I'm here to talk Holloman. We've barely scratched the surface of League of Extraordinary Gentlemen yet. And Van Helsing.
We do have to
LXG.
talk LSG.
Yeah.
Which the Captain Nemo's submarine sequence in that is
the Nautilus. Yeah, there you go.
The Nautilus, man.
Tom Sawyer's on the Nautilus. What kind of world is
Tom
this?
Sawyer.
We need an American.
Dorian Gray, like the characters they added into the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. Like, what guy was like, I got it, guys. Dorian Gray.
Dorian
like,
Gray's not in the comic?
No, and they were clearly like,
Are you sure?
I'm almost certain. Here, I'm gonna look it up.
I think that's correct. I mean, Tom Sawyer definitely was added.
Yeah,
Tom
that is
Sawyer
true.
was the obvious,
Right,
but
because
it was
Nemo,
clearly,
Mina Harker, Quarterman, Invisible Man, and Hyde, right?
Oh, that's the comic. Yeah.
The comic is those, Mina Harker, Quarterman, Nemo,
the original
Hyde,
comic, at least,
the Invisible Man, and that's it. Yeah,
I thought Dorian Gray was in the comic.
No, they add him because I think they were just like
Want some sexy-
scanning through public domain, and they were like, what's a name, right? Like, because like Dorian Gray, what's he supposed to do? Like kill him with like a bon mot or whatever? Like, he's ageless, sure,
Right.
But I mean, like, it's not really like a power.
They try to make it that he's like got Wolverine healing powers,
Oh, yeah.
right? I
Right.
think what they try to do in the
Yes.
movie is, because he doesn't age, that also means that any damage is immediately healed.
And then Jekyll and Hyde also, are they in? They're not in the comic either.
Really? No, I think
No.
Hyde's in the comic.
That has to be in the comic.
You're right. They are. Sorry,
Yes,
take it
thank
back.
you.
Take it back.
Isn't it weird that a couple years later there was another Invisible Man on screens?
Yeah.
And this like wasn't a bomb.
Oh, you mean in LXG?
Oh yeah, of
Yeah,
course.
yeah, yeah.
What else would I be talking about?
Played by.
Jason Fleming?
No, he's Hyde.
Oh, right.
You're not going to have the name.
No, I am going to have it. Ready? Fuck you, Tony Curran.
Tony Curran. Well done.
Thank you.
Tell me anything about him.
No,
Griffin
I
knows
don't
his
remember
LXG.
anything. I just remember he's great in that movie.
Is he better than Kevin Bacon?
No.
As playing, and is he better than Johnny Depp will be in the Dark Universe?
Yes.
Invisible
That
Man?
is that movie is never getting me.
Yeah.
Now, you don't know. By the time this podcast comes out, there could have been a huge Johnny Depp Invisible Man announcement.
Look, the
That's
Dark
true.
Universe is going really well despite some setbacks. Obviously, Charles Manson was supposed to play the Wolfman.
Charles.
They're getting top
That
stars.
clickhole article.
Perfect.
Did I show
public
you the one
reputation.
where it's like, is Louis C.K.'s movie about Matt Lauer in trouble or whatever?
It's
Like,
Harvey Weinstein's Matt Lauer biopic starring Louis C.K.
Look, this is, to borrow a frequent joke of yours, this is being recorded in September.
Yes.
The Dark Universe is doing great.
Right.
And
Oh
by
my
the time
God.
this airs, the Dark Universe will be doing better.
And Trump's been elected double president.
oh, God.
And Greatest Showman won Best Picture.
Greatest Showman won Best Picture.
Trump's been elected greatest showman.
You were going to read the order of the kills.
I will. I'm
Yeah.
going to do that in 1 second. But LXG, I just want to say, that's Connery's last movie, right?
Oh, yeah.
Correct.
And
Except for
it-
the animated movie that
Billy
he came
Bill
into.
or whatever it was
Yeah,
called.
right.
Wild Billy.
And that was a movie where literally, like, Connery, like, on set was like, "You're a hack, Stephen Norrington. I'm going to do this myself." Right? He, like, directed the movie himself.
The other thing was that Connery had turned down like 5 movies that became huge because he was like, I don't get this shit. So he turned down Morpheus in The Matrix.
Right.
He turned down fucking Gandalf.
Right, but then he was taking the Avengers and Entrapment. Like he was, and Finding Forrester. Like he took all the wrong roles.
Right, but he was like, I guess these sci-fi films, I don't get them, but I should do one. So he did LXG because he was like, well, the last 3 times I passed.
Eyes open, boy.
Right, there's another big one I'm forgetting that he turned down. So he did that, and after that didn't turn out well, he's like, fuck it. Like, I don't get anything.
He was a good Quartermain.
I remember
he says
cast.
2 things in the trailer. The game is on, and that was naughty.
Well, the game is on.
Yeah, that was naughty. Yeah, me and my friends used to say that was naughty
all
to
the
each other.
time.
The game is on, I say all the time.
Every day we would say that was naughty to each other.
I saw
Eyes open, boy.
LXG opening day. My friends wanted to go see Pirates of the Caribbean because they both open on the same weekend.
Ooh, great weekend.
At the moment, it was a question like which one's going to do well because they both looked a little dodgy. They both came from like weird like backgrounds. And we got sold out of Pirates, so went to see LXG, which I was like pumping my fists about. And the audience was so like, they were so clearly in the mood to see Pirates of the Caribbean and had to settle for this that they just like transferred their enthusiasm over to it. And Connery's entrance in LXG got an applause break from the audience.
Isn't it weird that like there was that time, as I already, LXG and Van Helsing, this other things where it was just like, this is what people wanted, and that kind of became Underworld, which there's inexplicably like a million of.
Yeah, there's like a whole
but then
franchise.
That becomes a very small, like budget conscious franchise.
But regardless, like the appetite for this sort of like revisionist things
Gothic
of 100-year-old H.G. Wells characters.
Yeah.
Time Machine that came out like a year after this.
If LXG hadn't been made, could you imagine the fucking bidding war for it now?
Oh my God. People would be going crazy.
Yeah.
That is totally true.
Yeah.
LXG could also be in the Dark Universe.
They could.
100%.
They could redo
And most of them
LXG.
are in the Dark Universe.
I think they already threatened to redo it.
But doesn't Moore have some kind
As
of
a TV
power
show.
where he's like, you
Threatened as
can't?
a TV show.
Oh, it's as a TV show?
That's actually, I believe you're right. I think
Yeah.
that might actually even be in the works.
Yeah.
Like that's probably in production right now with like Jason Patrick or something.
Moore doesn't have veto power.
Maybe not. Okay. So the kills are he discovers Shu and Brolin going at it, right?
Boy, he's furious. That guy?
There's also that nightmare sequence she has where he's undressing her and then it's just a nightmare sequence.
That feels like a studio note to get Elizabeth Shu's clothes almost all the way off.
Right, yeah, exactly.
But there's that moment before that where he puts her up against the wall in the lab and tries to seduce her. Don't you want to do one last test before you turn me visible?
Right.
That's even before he
She
knows
has a
he's
good
doing it.
line. Wait, what? She has a good comeback to that.
Something like you were never really there anyway.
Yes, that's
right.
it. And you're like, damn.
Right.
And then so he kills Devane first. There's also the ripping off of the latex mask, which is his sort of like, he's going Breaking Bad.
Right.
But he kills Devane in the pool, right?
Well, because he sees that Shu and Brolin...
I just said that.
Right, yes.
Goddamn sleepy
not
boy.
Not that he's seen them in bed, but that he sees that they go and speak to Devane.
They're going to rat him out.
He knows.
I had a new point to make. I'm wide awake.
Okay. All right, chill.
All right.
Ben is currently splitting us apart. I was about to punch David in the face.
Jeez.
Things
they
getting
go
heated.
to Devane and go, look, we lied about this.
Yeah, right.
But
They
he's a
spill the
danger
beans,
now.
and Devane
Yeah.
is like, geez, this is bad. His wife comes down, is like, what's that? And he's like,
It's
I have to make a phone call.
Worth getting me out of bed. He's like, it's worth
Right.
waking up 2 generals for.
Have you ever seen a
Yes,
Paul
that's it.
Verhoeven movie? It feels like something right out of that. I'll tell you more later, honey. But
and then he gets
Bacon's
drowned
been
in
watching
his
the whole
pool.
conversation. These fucking turncoats. He's
That's the thing. You never
furious.
know when Invisible Man's around.
I know.
Unless
That's
you have cool red glasses.
That is the big
Glasses.
question this movie asks.
Is he around?
Yeah.
Think you're alone?
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
Think again.
Nope.
So
Sebastian Holloman,
drowns him in the pool,
it's right
which is really I love.
Yeah,
I think
it's
it's
cool.
such a good nightmarish
Mhm.
and cool CGI. Then he goes back to the lab.
Mhm.
Does he first kill Grunberg or does he kill
no.
Janice?
He kills Janice first.
Yeah, that's a bad look for this movie.
Yep.
That was a
Yeah.
different time. That was a studio note, too. They were like, you know who should die first?
But now it's like this.
Where they would actively enforce it.
Yeah.
This movie has like 40 minutes left, and it's like, okay, they're all locked in this metal donut underground.
And he's
got us
changed all the
here.
codes so no one can leave.
He wants to kill us.
Yeah, he
so
changes
that,
the codes. Ugh.
Right. He'll be able to get away with it if there's no evidence of the fact that he ever existed, that this
Right,
experiment was
right,
ever
right,
done.
right.
So he's going to try to kill us off one by one. she's like running behind the group. She's like the slowpoke, and he kills her, and they don't realize that.
Yeah,
she's
he
not
like drags
with them.
her away. Yeah, she gets a very ignominious
She goes to the
death.
bathroom a couple times in this movie. We like see her taking off her pants
where
and
she's
squatting on a toilet.
wondering if he's there or not.
But it's like a
Think you're
bathroom.
alone,
It's like
think
a
again.
massive room with a toilet in the middle of it and no door.
Yeah, it's the room the size of like my apartment.
She's not
Like,
in a bathroom stall. It's like
Right.
a toilet that's like just in the middle of a giant.
It's like they took the set for the hallway after they were done shooting the hallway stuff and just put a toilet in it.
Right.
Now it's a bathroom.
So then he's sort of like he does like a Spider-Man trick on top of some pipes.
Yes,
Lifts Greg
Yeah.
Grunberg off into the air,
which is really
strangling
creepy.
him. Which
The
is
Grunberg's folds of fat, his pudgy face all
back
squeezed.
Keanu Reeves.
Yeah.
This is in the middle of his Felicity run, and Brolin's like shooting at it and he realizes he's up there, and he throws him onto the rebar.
And it
And
like
the artery-
lacerates his.
That's gross.
that's a good little Verhoeven
Yeah.
total
I
recall
think that's
type.
exactly. Where you're just like you're like whoa, yeah.
And the mushy face feels like a prosthetic.
Maybe.
I wasn't freeze framing it, but it had a very unique look as opposed to the CGI fingerprints in other moments.
And then he tries to kill Brolin and fails. So
Yeah.
then he goes off to Dickens, and that's the blood on the ground
Yeah.
scene.
Yeah.
She spills it to kind of see his footprint.
To see his
Right.
footprints, but she does it weird. Like he just comes up behind her.
Yeah.
Like it's like a bad idea.
Yeah.
but it looks cool.
Yeah, it looks great.
That's a great way to describe this movie.
It's a bad idea, but it looks cool.
Yeah.
Where she's just like, I'm gonna go get some extra blood. I guess because Grunberg is bleeding out. I mean, Grunberg is like so dead. I don't
He's
know why they
100%
even
dead.
bother. And she gets 6 blood
And they
packets.
say that to her, like, but she's like the den mother. She's the one who cares
She's
after
the
animals.
vet too, so she's
right.
humane.
But
Yeah,
so Shu and Brolin are like, he's not going to make it. It's bad. And she's like, no, it's fine. Let me get some blood.
yeah. Let me go get 6 blood packs. Spill
Right.
5.
Right.
I'll have 1 left. And
Yeah.
then how does he kill her?
She's the one. No. Grunberg, he stabs through the thing. He kind of. What does he do? Oh, first he shoots the dart into her.
Yeah,
He sedates her. She's on the ground. He starts groping her, and then he snaps her neck.
yeah. He snaps her neck. Right.
It gets very brutal.
But it's covered in the
Yeah.
blood. There's
This is
that
the
whole
point where
weird-
his
Yeah.
strength and his power and his inability to be killed just becomes insane.
It's
Right.
true. He
He's, like,
immediately
shot and
is
lit
dialed
up.
up. I mean,
He's-
it's Michael Myers-esque. I
He
He's
guess.
becomes
shot and lit on
Pinbacker
fire
in
and like
Sunshine,
thrown
yeah.
down an elevator
And
shaft.
electrocuted.
And he's just still coming.
Yeah.
Yes.
It makes no sense.
And then right because then somewhere in here is when he locks Elizabeth Shue in the
Yeah.
meat locker or whatever it is, and she has to like MacGyver her way out of there
With the
somehow.
magnet.
And let's just
That's
say, because I
fucking
don't think we've
stupid.
talked about it enough, anytime any sort of substance is thrown on him, anytime he's put into any water, any gas, anything like that,
Yeah, you see his silhouette.
and you see his flapping dong.
Well, sometimes they kind of deploy the dong.
It's quite a bit. You see it
surreptitiously.
in the infrared every time.
Every
Yes,
time.
Yes.
And some other
But there's
times
also
too.
this sort of massive like veins. There's
Yeah.
lots of info,
When he
visual info.
Sure. When he's in his sort of partly visible state with the muscles and everything, you clearly see the muscles of a dick and balls, which I like.
Fair enough.
You
Right.
know, Verhoeven at that point was just like, didn't even have to argue on that. They
Right,
were
I
just
watched
like,
for
that's
this.
what Paul's going to
Yeah,
do.
where it's like right in his muscle phase, you see the muscles of the penis.
And the testicles.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's a good point.
Don't forget the testicles.
I don't know how
David.
many muscles they have, but yes,
Consider
whatever.
the testicles.
But then, right, as
Consider
it does
their
bleed
leaves.
away, his dick does go away, and then he's just a skeleton, which
Yes.
is fun. That's sort of like the most gentle version of the
Yeah.
And then he kills Slotnick with a crowbar, which is sort of half-assed.
Yeah.
But then he
Slotnick
doesn't kill
deserves
anyone.
better.
Yeah, well,
And then Shu and Brolin get away in the elevator.
Brolin
which
He
is-
stabs
should
Brolin.
die.
He stabs
I
Brolin.
know.
Brolin's bleeding out.
And this is the
They're in
second
the meat
movie
locker.
within close range in which Brolin is trapped underground for a long period of time with a woman and then survives.
That
with
was his role at this time. That was his ballywick.
I really just think Brolin should die. That's my main pitch on the end of this movie that I really would change.
Yeah.
What do you think, Alex?
I didn't really. By that point, I was pretty checked out.
Yeah,
Movie
that's-
has-
it
I wasn't
gets
even.
boring.
I wasn't. By that point, I wasn't like, you know what would fix this movie. I was just thinking like,
There's
this
no-
is a fascinating monster character. It's a fascinating scientific parable, and the last 40 minutes of this movie is neither.
Yes.
You wish that he had gotten Neumeier in to do a pass on this script.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
Just something that's like
Even some more fun techie stuff, like
Yeah.
do some weird lab shit.
Yeah.
I don't
just
know.
something
Yeah.
where they leave the lab or something. I can't even
Yeah.
imagine. That's the thing. It's like I don't know
Yeah.
what a good Hollow Man movie is.
Th-
Like
this whole
I love
section.
it.
yeah.
You kind of
got it.
want him to escape.
to Hollow Woman.
Well, no,
Ooh. Shoe gets hollowed.
because I think I don't like any of the sexual violence stuff. I
No,
think the fix
it's
of
hard to
this-
watch and it's completely disposable in this
Yeah.
movie.
And
I
I
don't
don't-
like it.
I don't know how you get there, but to me, it's like make a heist movie, run the jewels.
Run the jewels. I think, like,
Come on, that would be cool. Jewel
yes, I'm
thief?
with you. I think the sexual violence of this movie is an idea where Verhoeven had that idea, or whoever had that idea that's in the movie, and then they're just sort of like, we did that, right? Like,
That's the thing.
we don't have to do anything more about this,
This whole last
right?
chunk of the movie, aside from really good visual effects,
And then the second chunk of the movie is right, and then he kills people with superhuman strength.
it just feels
Yeah.
like going through the motions.
Like,
it feels
how did
like
he get
was
into the pipes and then get Grumberg lifting strength?
right. And and you also get to the point when she's sort of flamethrowered him. You realize, like, okay, so he's completely burned over the entirety of his body,
Right? Yeah,
and yet he's still able to like run this fast.
And there's like stuff
and then
melting
he gets
onto him.
electrocuted.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
But then it's all gone.
Yeah.
I also
It's
love
very strange.
When the flesh kind of chars away on him, it's really great.
I love how the electrocution like restores him to like muscles.
Yes.
For some
Makes
reason.
zero sense.
But it looks cool.
But I mean, it does make some sense because it's like Street Fighter 2 logic, where like the electricity makes your bones visible, right? Like because you're like,
it's like a cartoon character sticking their finger in an electric socket.
It's like
You're
Blanca.
talking Barack.
I'm talking
Blanca,
Barack, Blanca Obama, Blanca.
Blanca.
Yes, I'm talking Blanca. Is that your guy?
I don't know. I've been playing
Who
a
is
lot of
your
Street Fighter 2
Who are your
on my
on your iPad?
on my SNES Classic.
Oh, I have one of those too.
Yeah.
Oh, I've been playing a lot of Street Fighter 2.
It's fucking impossible.
Yeah.
I had to go back, reset the game, and set the difficulty level lower.
Well, you know, one thing is
I was playing it for 3 days without beating a level.
Wow.
Who were you being?
Who are you guys?
I kept changing. What's I was Vega.
Vegas, cool.
Yeah.
Sure. My best
It's
one
a great
is
opportunity to say that though. Those are my guys. And I was Vega. Sometimes. What's the sumo wrestler? Honda.
E-Honda. He's
E-Honda.
actually really easy to win with because if you just lock into the 100 hand slap thing, like you can just destroy everybody.
I remember that time.
Chun-Li was always
Yeah.
my,
I remember that time that M. Bison came up to me and said he was just going to do a jazz fight.
Griffin has been trying to say this for 5 minutes.
Thank you.
He keeps saying,
Perfect deployment.
But no,
But yes,
what I-
because I had just been playing Street Fighter, possibly the
liked
day
it.
I watched this, I thought of that during that electrocution.
Benny liked it.
did you know that M. Bison is called Vega in the Japanese game and Balrog is
Right, 'cause-
Sagat is called Balrog or whatever. Maybe it's and because M. Bison's supposed to be Balrog the boxer.
It's supposed
They
to
were
look
worried
like
that Mike Tyson would sue them.
Yes.
So they like switched all the names
Yes.
around. Yeah.
Yes, I did know that.
figured
Zangief's
you
my
did.
guy.
Zangief is hard to play with. He's so slow.
But
he
I
like
like
lumbers.
I like the wrestling stuff. I like the grabs.
Yeah,
I like to get close.
You get up close and personal.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I like Chun-Li because she can like jump all around really, really
Yeah,
fast.
I don't play with her.
She's good. She's
Yeah.
weak, but she's like really fast.
This is a great way to end your Verhoeven series,
100%.
talking about our SNES classics.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is why I think we should do an L bonus. We can do some
Yeah.
rankings. You
Do you
know.
think we combine it with Black Book, or do we just skip Black Book?
Don't skip Black Book. Black Book is amazing. Here's the thing. Like,
I love Black
to end,
Book,
like
yeah.
not having participated or heard any of the other ones yet. Like,
Yeah.
it's amazing that he rebounded from this.
Yes.
This movie
It is.
is fine. It's like
Yeah.
a C plus.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
It's
a C+.
unbelievable that he went away 6 years later,
it's a
made an
B minus.
amazing
No,
movie.
it's a 5 out of 10.
There's enough stuff. The stuff I like in this movie, I like a lot. It's just a kind of
Well, we're
indifferent
going to do our
mess.
ranking.
Okay.
But
yeah.
isn't it cool that he disappeared from Hollywood
Yeah.
permanently?
Yes.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Made a really good movie,
Yeah.
an epic, then didn't do anything for 10 more years.
Yeah.
And then made a masterpiece.
Yes.
It's cool that he didn't hit rock bottom and be one of these guys like
Yes.
Rennie Harlan,
Old.
who
Yeah,
we
yeah,
Wolfgang
for sure.
Peterson, who just are
No,
never
he
going to do
rehabbed
anything.
his, and then he made L, and it got a fucking Oscar nomination. He made that movie, and it got an Oscar
He's
nomination.
the opposite, which is insane.
Yeah.
He's the opposite of the Hollow Man in that he looked in the mirror and didn't like what he saw and took stock, and then
And he
yet
felt like
when you-
Hollywood was making him
when you
hollow.
watch
yes,
L,
they
you're
call
like,
it Hollywood for a reason.
L has fucking video game
Yeah.
porn in it.
Yes.
Like it's not like he like went stately, you know.
No,
He's
it's very
still the same
Verhoeven-y.
old Paul.
And Black Book is really lurid and sexual and
it is.
thrilling.
The other thing that's
Don't skip
fascinating.
Black Book's
no,
great.
Yeah. The other thing that's fascinating. Jeez, I just broke my microphone.
God,
The other
holy
thing.
shit.
I'm good, Ben. I'm good.
Ben's so mad.
Ben's furious. He's scarlet with rage.
Yeah.
The other
He's
thing.
hollow with rage.
The other thing that's interesting about L, and I guess we'll just do a fucking L episode now, but that L is kind of to the French erotic thriller what the Verhoeven Hollywood movies are to the American blockbuster. Like it's him adopting an
Yeah, no,
outsider
I understand what
perspective
you're
to
saying.
the dominant genre. Yeah.
Right.
I want to, one thing, like I'm sure
Fuck
this
it,
will
we're
come
doing a
up.
bonus.
Yeah.
One thing that I'm sure will come up box office wise, but like talk about the American blockbuster, but like, 2 weeks before this movie,
Uh-huh.
X-Men.
Yeah.
Right.
Th-
Well,
This,
Yeah.
this
We're
is
going to do the box office game right now.
Not to
exactly.
spoil any element of it,
Yeah.
but there's no chance you wouldn't have gotten that.
Look, the man
This
got
is-
beaten by the men
this is
that
like
summer.
to me, like there's no clearer thing that like this era is over.
Yeah.
The 90s are over.
Yes,
Right.
you're right.
Adult R-rated sci-fi high concept thrillers are over.
This is a good box office
And
game.
as of 2 weeks prior to the release of this movie, like this is the thing now.
And you have this summer is kickstarted by the highest grossing film of that summer, which was
Mission Impossible 2?
correct.
Yeah.
And is like, once again, here's a passing of the baton. It's no longer the star driven.
Right, but there's still Gladiator this year. You know, there are still these movies that now no studio would be interested
but it's
in.
shifting.
Yeah, it is shifting.
Because especially you go Russell Crowe at that point to put that big of a budget on him.
Well, you know
when
who
he
was going to be
like,
the star?
Guy Pearce?
Banderas.
What?
You didn't know that? Of Gladiator? That's why he's Spanish.
That's insane.
In the movie, he's called the Spaniard. There, you know, he's Maximus, but they keep calling him the Spaniard.
They didn't change that after Banderas.
They decided not to change that because who cares? It's
That's
Iberia
insane.
anyway.
Yeah.
But like, it's like that was a Banderas role.
Wow.
I think Banderas would be a lot of fun in that movie. I don't know if
He'd be
it's as
fun.
good
Yeah.
because Russell Crowe is phenomenal in that movie. I think.
It's
but,
just like that's the role he was designed
Exactly.
to play.
Right.
Okay.
But I do feel like that to me is the thing when I look this up. Because again, I didn't look at what else was out at this time, but I just know that X-Men had just come out.
Yeah,
because X-Men
like
is
July.
July movie. I think.
And now, 17 years later, like the idea of there being a movie like Hollow Man is insane.
Yeah.
And the idea of there being a movie like X-Men is monthly.
Right. And I mean,
bi-weekly.
This summer I was all about X-Men. I was just
boy.
like X-Men obsessive.
Came out the weekend of my birthday.
God.
Couldn't have been happier.
I
I've
was-
been waiting my whole life for it.
Yeah.
That was how I felt when I saw X-Men. I was like, I can't. They finally made something approaching what I was looking for. You know?
I had all the trading cards. I was like all in on
I had
fucking
also
everything.
seen Hugh Jackman on stage in Oklahoma,
God.
so I was even
Yeah.
in on Hugh Jackman before the movie came out. Like that's how far into X-Men I was.
I was so into
and
X-Men.
I loved Fly Away Home, so I was like on the Anna Paquin train.
I was going to say, I was so into X-Men that for the year or two after this, I felt personally invested in the career of every actor in X-Men. So I
Me
remember
too.
seeing like Sugar and Spice opening weekend because Marsden was in it.
Yeah.
And like
Disturbing
Swordfish.
Behavior, baby.
Right. Like any of the movies that had any of the X-Men in them, I was behind.
Swordfish is another kind of relic
I
of
was
like the kind of
in
thing
on
here
yeah.
that's going out. Like
I would love to do a Swordfish miniseries.
Dominic Sena, that's our next miniseries.
Oh God.
That's Dominic. Who directed that?
Dominic Sena,
Dominic
right?
Sena.
Why did I
Yeah.
think that it was Simon West?
It's because
They're
that's
very
that's a
similar.
good guess.
Because it makes no difference.
Yeah.
No, that is Dominic Sena in between like California and Gone in 60 Seconds. He made Swordfish, which has that absolutely.
No, it's after Gone in 60 Seconds.
Maybe, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. Yeah. Absolutely horrifying monologue from John Travolta that opens the
Oh
whole
boy,
movie.
I look at that monologue all the time.
Yeah, it's so funny. When he's like, they don't shoot the hostages.
It's just monologuing to like a video camera about Hollywood and how Hollywood movies are crap. And he has like
make
the
shit.
the
He has the
razor
soul
fin.
patch, yeah.
It's not even a soul patch.
Yeah,
it's
right.
like it's
A little
It's like a
it's like
vertical
s-
Hitler
It's
mustache.
like a soul saber.
Yeah.
It's like razor thin.
Is it true, Alex, that every time you've auditioned an actor for any of your films, you've had
That's
them
the
do that
monologue. That's
monologue?
the monologue. Yeah.
You just hand them the sides.
The script is top secret, so you're gonna do this monologue from Swordfish. And when you're given the choice to walk in, when they're like, "Have you prepared something?" You're like, "Yes, I'll be doing John Travolta's monologue from Swordfish or a nice monologue from Crash about racism."
Oh my God.
I did see someone do a Crash monologue once, and I was like,
Why?
bold statement.
Yeah, that is bold.
We all just keep crashing into each
I
other.
couldn't tell you one fucking line from Crash.
I just remember crashing into each
I just remember that when I walked out of Crash, I was like, so she falls down the stairs because she was so mean to her cleaning lady that the cleaning lady cleaned too much and so the stairs were slippery, right? And everyone else was like, huh? Like, you're thinking too hard.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Okay,
number
box office.
one
Was
Hollow
Hollow
Man, 26 million.
That's a good opening. For 2000 for August, that's
it's
a
fine.
healthy fucking opening.
It's fine. It makes
Got my money.
twice.
How much was a King of Prussia ticket back then?
$8.
I was gonna guess 8.
Do you want to hear something really embarrassing?
Sure.
The only movie I've seen multiple times in one weekend, I think, was the first Shrek.
The only movie?
That's the worst thing I've ever heard in my life.
I'm sorry. I think that's the only movie I saw. I saw literally Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Oh my God.
Is that true?
That's even worse.
Certainly
I've
hope
definitely
not.
seen movies twice in one weekend.
So like you won't see Last Jedi like Thursday and Saturday?
I remember seeing Force Awakens Thursday and Sunday.
Yeah, I do this even still like once a year for whatever this movie is.
I might have seen Wall-E 3 consecutive days in a row when it came out.
I don't do it as much as I used
Yeah.
to. I mean, at this time, I would have done it regularly. Like this probably would have been the third
sure.
movie this summer I did it for.
Sure.
Because you got to see it with other friends.
Yes. That was the
I
thing.
got it. I got it.
That
All
was
right,
the
we
thing
got
with
it, guys.
Shrek, where I saw with my little sister
right.
on a Friday.
Ben's
There was
right.
a birthday party on
Griffin,
Saturday.
shut
So
up.
on the parents on Sunday. My dad, I remember, showed me the box office for Shrek and said, like, that's your $30 right
There
there.
you
Like,
go.
you moved that decimal point over.
All
You
right.
saw it
Number
3
one
times.
is Hollow Man. Number two is the previous film. Number 1 the previous week. Sorry,
Not X-Men?
No. X-Men is number 6, so it's not even in the top 5.
Interesting. So I didn't ruin anything by talking.
You didn't.
So much
You
about
didn't.
It.
Okay.
Well done.
Number
X-Men's
6
been
after
out for a month.
2 weeks. It's been out for a month. I thought it came out July 16th.
Is
It came out July
beginning of
14th.
Oh,
Oh,
I
it came
don't
out
know.
on my birthday. I
Yeah,
thought it
yeah,
came
yeah.
out. Eyes Wide Shut came out the 16th, a year earlier.
Oh,
Gotcha.
interesting.
Okay.
It came
So
out
X-Men came out
July
on my
14th.
birthday. Oh,
Yes,
so that was a
yes.
great day for me.
What a great day. So number 2 was number 1 week before. It's a sequel in a comedy. Well, I
Night
mean,
Professor to the Clowns?
correct. I remember we saw the trailer for that in front of some movie. I was with my mother watching some probably very nice movie.
Yeah.
And we saw the trailer for that, and she leaned over and she said, "You would have to point a gun at me to see that film."
My dad gladly took me opening weekend, me and Jamesy. Talk about a movie.
I saw that movie at least twice in theaters.
Talk about a movie with an unacceptable amount of sexual violence.
Correct. Hamster on man violence.
Yep.
That movie has dropped 60%. But still 18 million in its second weekend.
It's dropping like a clump.
It's clumping down there. Made 123 domestic.
Okay.
Jesus. Number 3 is a new movie from one of America's most established Oscar lauded auteurs who makes like 8 movies a year. And this movie is like completely anonymous, and also like I saw it in theaters, and it stars a bunch of guys, and I don't know.
He makes 8 movies a year.
I'm
won an
kidding.
Oscar.
He's incredibly prolific.
He's incredibly prolific.
He's won like 3 Oscars.
He's won 3 Oscars?
He might have 4. I don't know how many he has. He has a lot of Oscars.
Jeez. Okay, wait.
He still makes movies today.
What's the number it did?
In its first weekend, 18 mil.
And what did it end up at domestically?
Good question. 90.
Wow, so it played well.
And it's set in space a little bit. Got some space.
It's Space Cowboys.
All right, fine. Well, I give it away. Did you see Space Cowboys? I saw that.
No,
in
never
theaters.
saw Space Cowboys.
I saw Space Cowboys.
It's kind of rude because it's Eastwood, Sutherland, Garner, who are all like old,
Yeah.
and then Tommy Lee Jones, who's like 15 to 20 years younger than them, but they're kind of like looping him in.
It's like The Crew.
But wouldn't he have been, like the young hot
He's
shot?
the young
of
hot
yeah.
shot. That's
Yeah.
the idea. Yeah.
Like how I haven't seen that movie, but I knew that right away.
Right. John Hamm's in that movie.
Do you remember The Crew, though? That's
No.
like
Oh, yeah.
Seymour
No.
Cassell.
Burt Reynolds.
No, we don't.
Right. And then Richard Dreyfuss
no.
is 15
We're,
years
we're,
younger.
we're going past this. All right. Number 4.
We'll do our crew cast later.
Number
Alex.
4
Yeah.
is based on a famous bar.
Coyote Ugly.
Yes. Which opened to 17 million in 4th place.
It was a big hit.
I saw that.
That may
on
have been part of a double feature that I did with this movie.
Yeah.
I saw that on a date, a little 14-year-old
Sorry to take that away
date.
from
No,
you.
no.
I was just so excited to
Yeah.
say
Piper,
that.
Please, it's a birthday present.
Parabo, John
Yeah.
Goodman, Maria Bello, Bridget
Yeah.
Moynihan.
It was a Parabo vehicle.
She learned how to dance on the bar, I guess. I don't,
A movie
can't-
based on a famous bar is a great way to.
Yeah.
I don't know how else to describe it.
There's only
Yeah.
2. There's that and CBGB from a few years ago.
Right.
Uh-huh.
Number 5
Cocktail
is
based on famous
number 5
bartender.
is like a sort of mainstream thriller that was a huge summer hit.
What Lies Beneath?
What Lies Beneath?
Yeah.
Which we've discussed many times on this
'Cause
podcast.
it's a crazy box office performance.
150.
A lot
Yeah.
of good movies here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
this is
can't
what I'm
believe
saying.
X-Men
Like,
is
what a
out
great
of,
week.
This is what?
It's 6th.
August 10th?
Yeah, so I didn't even give you the date. It's August 4th.
August 4th. I can't believe X-Men's not even
yeah.
in the top 5 that soon. I thought
It's
it would have been number
4. Number 6. 6 million.
Yeah.
It's made 136. You got Scary Movie, Perfect Storm,
Mm.
Disney's The Kid,
Disney's The Kid.
The Patriot, Pokemon the Movie 2000, which I saw alone in a giant
We
multiplex.
talked about Pokemon, Weird Al Yankovic's song on the soundtrack.
Yes.
It's called Pokemon.
Pokemon. Thomas and the Magic Railroad with Mara Wilson and Alec Baldwin.
I've got to find more gold dust. That's one of those trailer
That's it.
lines I used to make fun of all the time. Do you remember that?
I do.
When they say Alec Baldwin, there's a shot of him just springing up awake in bed like Don't Wake Daddy
Ben
going, I've got to
Hosley-
find more gold dust.
Ben Hosley has been put through a lot recently, and I would say this is another one
Yeah.
for the books. Yeah.
Well, let's say we're going to do a bonus episode,
Yeah,
but
we'll
let's announce our next miniseries.
Oh, good call. Oh, yeah.
Because
That's right. And I know what the name of it is, gentlemen and lady.
we're still debating over.
The name of this miniseries is Podcast News.
It's as pod as it casts, and it's the
Alex.
films of James L. Brooks.
Podcast News.
I'm happy to be here to get to hear an announcement like
Right.
that.
Yeah.
That's the perfect title for it.
I agree.
Is it as pod as it casts?
I mean, it almost seems like you I mean, that's obviously less good. Almost seems like you
Don't say
realized
obviously.
if we did a James L. Brooks series, we could call it Podcast News.
Right.
Has that been used for anything? Has that phrase existed anywhere
think
else?
I don't
so.
know. I hope that I invented it and I
Yeah.
get royalties on whatever like NPR show called the
Podcast
Podcast News
News.
eventually
Yeah.
gets invented.
That's really clever. Yeah, what would the other ones be?
As Podcast, which is really good.
How does it cast?
How do you podcast?
Pod do you cast?
Spang podcast.
Podcast lish.
He did Terms of Endearment?
Yeah.
Right.
Pods of Endear cast.
Endearcast.
No, I think Podcast News is clearly the winner.
I don't
Thank
know.
you.
Congrats.
I've been given the seal of approval by
Okay,
Alex
well, we'll
Rossberry. Celebrated
continue
guest.
arguing over this.
How many bonus episodes will that series have?
17.
Yeah, it's gonna have one.
We're going to do every episode of The Simpsons.
We're gonna do every episode of Mary
As
Tyler
its
Moore.
own episode.
Yep.
Its own bonus episode.
Yeah, just Brooks on TV is one.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll just watch everything in
40-hour
preparation for
episode.
that, and
Yeah.
we'll just be on as madmen.
Did you hear him when he was on Marin?
When he locked the gates, yeah.
Was he good?
Canyon Jim?
Really good episode.
Yeah, it's really good.
He's a smart guy.
He's really smart.
We're gonna talk about it.
smart, but not based on what our world is right now.
No.
Right,
He's very
right.
smart, and he doesn't understand the world that he lives in.
Right.
Correct.
Which is fascinating.
Right.
He wishes the world had never changed.
Yes, and it changed on him right around Spanglish time.
Right.
Yeah.
No one has, like, he came out of the gates as hot as someone can and lost it as dramatically as someone can.
And then kind of got it back, and then really lost it again.
Yeah.
Unlike Verhoeven, he doesn't have a country to return to.
That's true. Well,
He returns to the land
The
of
Bronx.
Springfield. Yeah, the Bronx, whatever.
I don't know where he's from. I
Canyon
can't
Jim.
remember.
That's his whole Twitter account. He
All
lives
right.
in the canyon.
All right, Ben. He seems to be getting some kind of cattle prod out. Oh no, I see. It's a Roku remote. It'd be fun if you had a cattle prod, though.
I should get one.
All right,
Ben is holding a stun gun right now.
Alex, you'll be back.
Yes, thank you for having me.
We'll have you back. It's always a pleasure to have
For a
you on the
Dominic
show.
Senna miniseries. We'll have you on for Swordfish.
yeah, what would that be called?
Pod in 60 sec
Yeah,
casts.
Yeah, that's what it's called.
There you go. You named that one too.
Thank you so much for being on the show. Please check out Golden Exits. And
Yeah, go to the Metrograph.
join
That movie's great.
Filmstruck. Watch all this film. Filmstruck, great service, worth getting in on anyway.
Yep.
I think they're buying my entire filmography recently, so you're probably gonna be
congrats.
able to see
Can't wait
my
to see
bakery in
Beware the
Brooklyn,
Gonzo.
Beware the Gonzo, Free the Nipple.
Romy and Neely's No Kiss List.
Naomi and Eli's No Kiss List, please. No
No me.
disrespect to all the great films I've been in.
Sorry, so sorry. I haven't
Yeah.
seen that one.
Yeah, show some respect.
What's it called?
What?
Fucking the beach. Fort Tilton.
Well, but that doesn't fit in with the joke I made.
Right. That one's actually interesting.
Yeah. Thank you all for listening. Please remember to rate, review, subscribe. Thank you to Lane Montgomery for our social media and for Gudo for. Thank you for Lane. God damn it.
Jesus
Ready?
Christ. Ange Farragut social media. Lane Montgomery theme song. Joe Bowen and Pat Reynolds artwork. Is that it?
Please remember to rate, review, subscribe. We said already. Go to reddit.blankies.web.edu.org for some real nerdy shit.
Angelfire.com/blankies.
Yes.
Yeah.
8028 Burger Hotline.
8028 Burger. Call into the Burger Report hotline anytime.
Yeah.
Should have asked Alex for Burger
Wait,
Reports.
no, I didn't. Can I just mention the thing I said I was going to talk about?
Oh, please.
Very briefly.
And as always,
as always. So, Griffin, when I saw you at the Mother premiere at Metrograph,
humble brag, yeah.
Oh, yeah, right.
I was talking to you and you said, I'm going to get out of here. Very tired.
Uh-huh.
You said goodbye.
Yeah.
I looked up 5 minutes later and you were standing talking to Kevin Bacon and Kira Sedgwick. And I said, I guess Griffin didn't leave. And there was nothing but tiny sliders being passed around at that party. Now, we didn't see Bacon eating one.
Do you think he gets bacon on his
But
burgers?
I thought it was very cool that you were like, I'm going to get out of here. I'm exhausted. And then 2 minutes later, I just saw you talking to Kevin Bacon and
So
Kira Sedgwick.
I was exhausted. I wanted to leave. My father, as I was trying to leave,
roped you in.
went, "Hey, Kevin, you remember my son Griffin, right?" And afterwards I said, "Why do you say that?" And he went, "Well, you're both on Amazon."
There you go. You guys
My-
hang out at the water
Part
cooler.
of the Amazon family.
My dad literally said, he must have been so excited to talk to you. And I went, he had no idea who the fuck I am. What are you talking about? I said, "But
Jesus.
you're both on Amazon."
That's a beautiful thing to say. He must have been so excited to talk to you.
That's what my father said.
Your dad's the best.
Yeah, my dad's a good guy.
So yeah, so there's as always, I remember seeing you talk to Kevin Bacon at Metrograph.
Who had no idea who I was and was not
Was he
excited
nice?
to see me. He was very nice.
A mere 10 feet away from both myself and Jennifer Lawrence.
Yeah, who neither of us talked to.
No.
No. She's doing fine.
Okay.
Red Sparrow's coming out right about now.
Yeah, goodbye.